سبحان فالق الإصباح.
Ladies and gentlemen, fuses are lit. It is your boy Chris Silvio riding in the hot seat in the saddle. Hamin is off on some kind of recognizance mission, and it looks like we have some weird sign guy. Not quite sure what to make of this. If they don't want to speak when I'm told to. Who could this be? Praise Allah, praise Ben. Looks like why song you were next. Oh my god, is that the best man?
You're all infidels! Radicalized MSG! I'm back. I have been in the cellars, in the depths, in the bowels of the snake pits to bin Hamin's counties, countries, and lawlessness has extended down beneath my soul. And I've come back a better man, a radicalized man. Praise bin Hamin, sir, yes. Welcome to Light the Fuse.
That cackle was terrifying. Well, guys, welcome Radicalized MSG. I was hoping Matt would show up today. Maybe we'll get him later on the show. But for now, we got this guy.
Stupid morons.
I guess so. MSG, are you under there somewhere?
I'm here. I'm trying to get out, Silvio. I'm here, Silvio. Help me.
We got problems on the show, guys. Matt's been watching way too much wrestling. But we're here, man. We saw Dynamite last night. I got some other cool shit I want to talk about. I know you do as well. What's going on with you, man? We haven't spoken in a week. What's new in the world of MSG?
Well, I'm getting ready to move to Denver. It's coming up here, so I got about 12 days there. So I'm just, I wouldn't say I'm lazily, as you can see, my mask is coming apart here. I wouldn't say lazily moving, getting ready. I just don't have a lot of things. I'm a pretty frugal kind of guy as it is. So I got a couple things I need to pack up. I need to sell this bed. I haven't done that yet. So, but eventually it'll get done here, and if not, whatever. I'm just kind of pack up my car, kind of guy. That's how I've always been. You know, I don't try to. I'll throw my keyboard, my guitar, go. You know, I don't keep a lot of things that are, I don't know, of sentimental value. I try to take more, like, I guess, the memories and the moments with me, I guess, versus trying to enshrine them into other things. But I still take pictures and posters, obviously. It's the most feasible way to transport those memories, right? But hey, I've also been radicalized, as you saw in the Money Locker Room. I don't know if you saw, Silvio. Bin Hamin was exposed.
Oh.
You didn't see it? You didn't?
No, I missed this.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I am in control today of the StreamYard. I could pull it up, but I would like the fans to go to our Hamin media group and check it out, or listen to it on hackerhamin.podbean.com. He actually called the Culture Vulture guy, or Ted got an interview with them, a whole 15-minute interview with them, and they exposed bin Hamin. And as such, Ted Hamin was radicalized yesterday. So Ted had a full-on, garb and everything. He's been radicalized. I've now been radicalized, and henceforth, Athers. They thought Athers was dead online, or was he? We don't know. Hamin took him out too. So, why songs next? Why song is next? So he's coming.
Who's Culture Vulture? Is that the UK guy?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, they got the interview with him.
Oh wow. I got to check that one out. I can't believe I missed that hot take.
I do not think I am safe, Stranger Sally. I am safe because I have the power of Allah within me now.
Those of you joining us here on twitch.tv/Hamin Group, thanks so much. What up, Fudge? What up, Stranger Sally? Stranger Sally!
What's up, Fudge?
Pelagia. Antifa MSG. No, this is radicalized MSG, you know, and this is modern day. You gotta blend in with the crowd, Pelagia. If I go out looking like a Ben Hamin y'all guy, I attract more attention. If I go out looking like the Antifa guy, you get in and you get to see both sides of the coin.
That's right.
So I got trained.
So Stranger Sally in the house, you know, that might not sound like the toughest name in the world, but hey, there was a point in my life where my coach, the Hustler, referred to me as Susie. You might have heard Hamin a few times refer to me as a boy named Sue due to my old wrestling name, Susio. So you can still be a badass with a name like Sue or a name like Sally. But for all you listeners, it's Chris, Coach Chris, Silvio, anything like that's cool. It drives me nuts. I don't know if you know this, Matt, but like in wrestling, when you meet people, you generally call them by whatever they were at the time you met them. So let's say you met John Cena in 2000 and you knew him as Prototype, and you saw him 20 years later, you hadn't seen him since, you'd be like, Prototype, what's up, man? So like the boys that knew me, like then some still call me Susio and I'm cool with that. But you know, like when wrestling fans and stuff like that do it, kind of feels like a family name almost. You know, if you got a nickname from like your grandma and then strangers call you that, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. In fact, I think like most wrestlers, when you find them on the road, I've been backstage. I mean, they just address them by their character name most of the times rather than their actual real name, just because you get so used to hearing it and being around that, right? I mean, I met musicians like that too. Like you find out later, like, oh, that's not my real name, dude. And you're like, oh, really? Yeah, no, that's not my real name. I'm like, oh, that's your shtick? Yeah, that's our shtick. Oh, okay, cool. You know, there's this guy named the Groove Brothers that I knew out in Arizona. Like they were Corey and Johnny Groove. And I'm like, oh wait, you guys aren't even brothers? Oh wait, you guys, your last name's not even Groove? Oh, okay. So you find out things too, all in the entertainment business, right?
Yeah, dude. People still think all the time Chris Silvio is a real government person. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't.
Maybe he is. Maybe let me try this here. I think I can do this. Does this work? Oh, look at that. See, I've got the power today. Cheers, 100. Thank you, Fudge. We appreciate you. That was pretty cool. Fudge. But yes, guys, we are here to talk about a little AEW. Before we do that, Silvio, you said you had maybe some topics you might wanted to address, or maybe you wanted to get my feedback on our listeners on here about.
Absolutely. First on the docket, I think Ted's off doing our work for the NXT show. I saw the cage match that main evented this Tuesday's NXT with Mercedes Martinez and Rhea Ripley. And I just wanted to say, my God, what a match that was. Hands down the best women's cage match I've ever seen. But it was, much like the Serena match that we were discussing a couple weeks ago with Rosa, it wasn't just a great women's cage match. It was a great cage match. But if you were to put in that specific genre of women's wrestling, hands down, best, most brutal women's cage match I've ever seen. They worked really hard and just busted out some really cool shit. Mercedes showing in her first main event in WWE that she belongs and she's just as good as the very best. So that was really cool to watch. Like, not a lot of people know this, but like Mercedes got signed after a long journey of nearly 20 years. And I believe like her second televised appearance or something like that was at the Royal Rumble. So can you imagine that, like, your second date with WWE ever is the Royal Rumble and you're coming up from the Indies? So she definitely had a trial by fire, and then the COVID thing, and she, along with everyone else, had to roll with the punches. Now we're getting to see her in a main event role, and I know she's going to do a lot more awesome stuff. So super proud of that girl. Rhea Ripley's really stepping up her shit as well. Did you get a chance to watch that cage match, Matty?
We were talking about NXT, right?
Yes. Mercedes and Rhea Ripley.
No, sir. I'm sorry. I have not. All right. I mean, I'll maybe if I get some time. I definitely wish I had more time in the day to do all I could in watching professional wrestling. One day I will, but that time has not come yet. I have to focus on making sure the Hamin Media Group train continues forward, Silvio, because we just can finish this 5-star search. So I've had my hands full listening to podcasts all these submissions that are being sent in right now. So we got to go through those submissions, but we appreciate those people that sent it in. Of course, we're sponsored by thebrosters.com. You can pick up your bag of Russo Bro Coffee. Now, the man who brought you, helped facilitate, market, put it up, basically back this whole project on a international scale now. It's also the same guy who's the owner of Dippin' Donuts, Silvio. And he's got these amazing donuts. They got the best coffee, great staff. But unfortunately, there seems to be some individuals that decided that they didn't like his own personal life, political affiliations and such. They are now targeting his brand and business online. So we are challenging and we are telling you, and we are y'all all commending you, go to the Dippin' Donuts Facebook page, give them a nice review. Don't interact with the trolls, guys. We don't need to engage with those people. They're just looking to get a rise out of individual. That's their whole intent, right? To be like, oh, see, these are the type of people. So don't be those type of people. Give a nice review and then just move on and help raise that rating. So I'm excited. I'm hoping to go out to New York later this year, Silvio. So I'm going to get some actual Dippin' Donuts in person. I'm excited.
Yeah, dude. Dippin' Donuts is awesome. The owners are great. The products are quality. And that's just something that drives me a little bonkers in 2020, man. I got to be honest. Like, you don't fuck with the man's family. You don't fuck with the man's business. Like, if you have opposing views on whatever, so be it. Not everyone's going to think the same way. Not everyone's going to have the same beliefs. That's no excuse to attack people or try to destroy their livelihood. It makes absolutely no sense. And we're seeing a lot of this kind of thing in 2020. Like, you're not on my side. Fuck you. You're out of here. Like, don't forget, we're called the United States. And a lot of you people saying shit like that claim to be patriotic and support nationalism, yet you want to exclude half. So I don't care what side of the fence you sit on or if you sit somewhere in the middle. Just be cool to people and don't fuck with someone's livelihood, man. But shout out to Dippin' Donuts. They're awesome. New Yorkers, check them out. And I hope to see more locations sprouting up. I'd love one here in Tampa, bro.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to get some donuts. I mean, I haven't had fresh donuts in a while, Silvio. I've been in phase 1 pretty much of lockdown here in the state of Washington. So I am excited about moving to Denver and going to some restaurants and getting out and about, seeing some new sights, if you will. So speaking of seeing new sights, new sounds, new stars, we got a star in you, sir. Do you have any other hot topics or news that you'd like to bring to the forefront today?
Yeah. You had some questions for me that we were discussing on Twitter. I think this is kind of maybe what some of our listeners are tuning in for today, other than our usual sexy talk. So let's go ahead and discuss some of the incidents last Saturday.
Yeah, so I mean, we can definitely get into, you might say, AEW with the all out pay-per-view. We don't need to go through match by match because at this point, guys, you know what the results are. Did you have any? What stuck out to you? Let's start there. What was your favorite match segment? I mean, what did you come away taking away from AEW all out that you really liked?
Favorite match was definitely MJF and Moxley. MJF really showed that he can handle the main event role in the ring. We all know that MJF is a main event promo. He's got main event presence. But MJF has 5 years in the business. And there are not a lot of people on an independent level that have just 5 years and can be a mainstream main event. So I think MJF really proved that to a lot of people. And him and Moxley had a very nice psychological match. I didn't see the finish coming. I thought they were going to run with MJF. I guess it's not his time yet. So I was wrong on that one. But that was really good. I thought the women's match was pretty strong with Shida and Thunder Rosa. I like that one.
Yep.
And it was absolutely wacky and silly. But I popped for the Britt Baker match. And I think, a lot of that's due because I have a soft spot for Britt and Reba just because I find them hilarious. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good show. But it seems some people did not share the same sentiments that I did.
I mean, from the opening onset, I guess you might say, maybe because it wasn't really explained or really forecasted itself that we were going to get some sort of cinematic match. So that was a little off-putting. Like I knew that we were going to get some sort of gimmick match with how they described the title of I don't know. She said drills and syringes. I forget the title of the name of the match now.
Tooth and nail match.
Tooth and nail. So like I expected maybe there to be like, I don't know, like some sort of like doctor set up in the ring, and there was going to be those type of instruments that would be used as weapons and whatnot. So definitely wasn't expecting the cinematic focus. So that was kind of off-putting to kind of start up. Now, as I watched, I mean, there was some funny things in it. However, I don't know. It just was, wrestle crap. Is that the term everyone likes to use? It was just kind of schmozzy. And I thought that for what Britt Baker has been doing, that's not where I wanted to see her, I guess, is what was more of a disappointment. And I like Swole too. She's a great athlete. I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, they haven't really established, like, at least Swole from her perspective, she hasn't established herself enough as a character to where I think she can be a good dance partner in a movie style setting, like match like Britt Baker and Rebby have been. So from that, it was just, I don't know, it didn't mesh together. It felt like a wrestler and one was trying to fight an actor in that whole breakdown versus like I wanted to see an actual match too. And that might have been one of the first times I actually would say, no, I wanted to see the match versus the entertainment style.
I think I would have rather seen a match as well, but I was happy with what they did, and I thought they both performed it well, what they were given. It was kind of like half cinematic, like at the opening, and then it just kind of turned into like a parking lot style match. So it wasn't shot cinematic all the way through. It looks like they filmed a lot of that, in one take. There was probably a few cuts in there for, positioning things, but it looks like they were going for the majority of it. I could tell it wasn't spot cut, spot cut, spot cut. So I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought we were going to get like a street fight kind of match where they're in the ring and they got taped fists, maybe they're going around. That's what I was expecting, but they said it was a new match, and technically it was. It was in the dentist office. I mean, it was a new match. It wasn't the dentist office. So, well, anything else that you didn't like? I've had some questions about the Darby Allin bump.
Oh, interesting. See, I thought we were going to go with the Matt Hardy conversation, but we can go to the Darby first. I didn't like the Matt Hardy stuff, but we can get in there. What did your thoughts about Darby being put in a body bag and thrown? Now, I watched it. And I tried to look out for his head. It doesn't look like he landed on his head or anything. It looks like they properly threw him, like it wasn't an unsafe throw. I can see the visualization why maybe that freaked people out, and maybe him being in the dark and anything can go wrong. So from a safety standpoint, it is less than safe. But I don't think Darby would have done it if he wouldn't have agreed to do it. You know what I mean? So, but go ahead.
Here's the deal with that. Cage set him down about as professionally as he could based on what the spot was. I watched it, and it wasn't like Cage just flung him recklessly. It was a little silly to begin with, and I don't think it's something Darby agreed to. I think it's something Darby came up with because that's the kind of performer Darby is. He wants to always push those extreme limits and try to do these things that both push his body and continue to sell his brand and make people go, holy shit, what's Darby going to do? And I appreciate his style. The thing is I want to see Darby around. I want to see Darby still working in his 30s. I want to see him get up to a main event status. So while I respect him and I think he's a phenomenal talent with a ton of upside, things like that, I think sometimes Darby, and a lot of wrestlers have this. I needed it myself at one time. Sometimes you have to save the wrestlers from themselves. Hamin did that for me earlier in my career, back when we were doing the DCW, which was like the NXT of OVW at the time. And I used to do, the Tajiri handspring where he does the back elbow. I used to do that, but with no hands. So I would fling into the rope with my hands behind my back, come back and hit him with something. And it looked cool as hell. But if you stepped in the OVW ring had real ropes, which aren't as springy as cables on the independents where I perfected this move. So sometimes if the ropes were loose, I had a margin of error of like 3 inches. And one particular match I did it and my head was maybe 2.5, 3 inches from the mat. I mean, was like, you can't do that ever again. And I listened to it. And that's, as performers, we need that sometimes because Darby is going to get hurt. If he's not hurt already, Rip Rogers told us, you are going to get hurt. And when you do, no one's going to give a fuck. And for the most part, he was right. Knowing that information, anytime one of the wrestlers are hurt, I try to be there for them just to prove that theory wrong, because I don't want to believe no one's going to give a fuck. But in a way, he's kind of right. And the world will keep on moving without you. I don't know if that's what Darby wants. I know he's a darker character. He's got, kind of that brooding personality. He's a nice guy. I've met him in person, but I think a lot of what we see on screen is inside of Darby's heart. So I don't know if that's what he wants. I don't know if he wants to be hurt or not, but he's certainly not doing very much to avoid it. And I really like the guy. I want to see him around.
I would agree. I like Darby Allin. I've been following Darby Allin since his indie career because he started here in the Northwest. I've gotten to, I was probably one of the last commentators to call one of his last indie appearances before he had debuted. So I've been following Darby. So I like his style. I think he's very charismatic. He, kind of like that cross between a little bit of Jeff Hardy, a little bit of Sting, a little bit of Raven esque there. So like he's trying to harness some different powerful players over the course of the history of wrestling. However, as you pointed out, all of those wrestlers had long careers because they were able to at least pick and choose when to not do something that may further, decrease their career overall, the longevity of their career. So can't disagree, Sylvia. That's good points. What did you think of the Matt Hardy stuff? Because now I know a lot of people were concerned about the doctor and officiating status. I think everyone can kind of agree that Matt Hardy is the type of performer that's been doing it for decades, that he's going to finish a match no matter what, or at least attempt to. Also, as someone who has been concussed, and I've been concussed, as well, but just any sense of format, when you're knocked unconscious or you're knocked with having the wind out, you may not be under the best cognizance to make the best decisions. So I thought there was a lot of questions that went into this. As a fan, do I think the match should have continued? Probably not. No, 100%. Probably should have stopped. Now, if they wanted to bring it back later that night and be like, hey, we cleared him, we did all the tests, match is going to resume, I would have been cool with that. But it was really fast. It was like a minute or two, it felt like, and it didn't really seem like they took Matt Hardy's health into consideration there at that point.
So Jenna and I got the pay-per-view, but I'm going to
put you full screen for this.
The pay-per-view in parts. So I found out about what happened to Matt Hardy before I actually watched the match. So based on what I found out, I chose not to watch the match because I didn't want to see Matt Hardy like that. Those things like the head injuries and the ramifications of them, obviously, as you all know, that holds an important significance to me because that's my struggle and a lot of other people's. So when you start dealing with head injuries and allowing wrestlers to continue, you start getting into these extremely murky waters. So as far as the Hardy incident, when it happened, it looked like he went out and lost consciousness from everything that I could tell about the situation. The wrestler's instinct, because I've been there myself, is always going to be finish the match. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't even realize it, that we shouldn't continue going. I've seen guys with broken limbs finish a match. I've finished dozens of matches with either concussions or injuries of some kind. And it's like a badge of honor you wear, like a tough guy thing. I finished the match. Not saying Matt was trying to be a tough guy. I think Matt didn't know any better at the time and didn't understand that he probably shouldn't have finished the match. That's where 2020 comes in. 10 years ago, maybe 15, I think some of the boys would have scoffed had the match been stopped because we didn't have the knowledge then that we have today. So this is, again, one of those situations where sometimes we have to save the wrestlers from themselves. It was a difficult spot also because if Matt lost, he was gone from AEW. It had a stipulation. So I can see that being yet another reason why he continued and why he was allowed to continue. But it was a scary situation from a wrestler standpoint. I totally get why he did it. But sometimes the wrestlers don't always make the best decisions. As we saw anybody that's seen Beyond the Mat with Mick Foley, the chair shots with The Rock that Foley pays for this day. So we need saving from ourselves sometimes. But it appears now, we heard from him on AEW, that Matt is going to be okay, but trust me, what happened to him stays with you. And he looked healthy, but it stays with you.
No, it does. I mean, I think in any type of performer aspect, whether you're, on stage, whether you're an athlete, when you're kind of reached maybe a peak, or when you're in that zone, you're in that high, it's kind of hard to pull yourself out of that and take yourself health wise into that consideration. I've had, I wouldn't say a blown eardrum, but I've had my ear go out in the middle of the set, and that sucks. Like when you're playing and your ear just pop and you're done and you're like, oh shit, I can't hear anything. I gotta try and play. We still got 30 minutes. Go. Oh, sorry. Shit. So, but realistically, I should have come off the stage if it was health wise and gone into a quieter place or done something to try and regain back the hearing in it versus keep trying to play through it. But unfortunately, when you're in that position, when you're trying to perform and entertain, you also don't want to let that audience down and, let yourself down, let your coworkers, your people down. So there's a lot of pressure that goes into that. And I think we as humans put that on ourselves over our own health, probably 90% of the time.
Big time, dude. The show must go on, right?
Yep. The show must go on. Well, that was the show there. We saw MJF unfortunately come up short, as you mentioned, against Mox, because Mox used the paradigm shift. The last thing I guess we could talk about, if you want to give your thoughts on, is the Mimosa match with Jericho and Cassidy. What did you think of Jericho creating his own emoji in the bath of orange juice and mimosa?
It was a good visual at the end. Jericho's funny as hell. Not sure that would have been the match that I would have booked or created, but it was a first. So a lot of people don't get to say they did the first anything. Will there be a second? I don't know. But I'm glad that it appears that Jericho is shifting away from Orange Cassidy and going into other business, because not that it was bad or anything like that. I think I'm good seeing them for now. We got 3, so now let's split them apart and see where they go. I do have a big overall theme I want to touch on from this show. It was like a snake bitten night. We had the injury, we had the Hardy thing, and then we had an unfortunate occurrence with my boy Seidel as well. And the thing like that angers me to an extent about that situation is, something happens that is like a 1 in a million chance, and everybody just jumps on it. And all of a sudden, shit's all over a guy. Like, this was a scary incident that could have ended someone's career. And this is someone with a solid track record, not somebody that just came in from the street. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's seen this performed by this person thousands of times.
Right. This is his trademark move.
I thought it was kind of shitty. Like, obviously that's not, the way he wants to come in, but he's, thankfully healthy, and he's going to correct it and move on and have a great career. We'll see a lot more of them. But I just thought a lot of people had shitty reaction to that and some really shitty comments. And I saw some shitty comments about Matt Hardy as well. Just people shitting on wrestlers getting injured. Like, if you call yourself a fan and you're going to say stuff like that, there's something wrong. Like, you got to understand that every time we step in the ring, just stepping in there for a match, we're putting at minimum our health on the line, as if anything could break and we're out of work for 6 months. At most, we're putting our life on the line. And there were a few spots, and yes, it was the performer's doing, but there was a few spots where people could have lost their lives. But the purpose of that was to entertain you guys and give you the best show possible. So I'm not saying everybody has to just enjoy whatever's presented. You like what you like and you like what you don't like. But have some respect for the people working hard for you, because they respect you enough to do it. That's why we do this. I don't care if I'm in front of 10 people or 10,000. If you buy a ticket to see me, I'm going to give you max effort. And that's why I have a lot of fans that have supported me as I came up in the independents, because they see that passion in my performance and they know how hard I go. And I know that all the people we've referenced so far, they do the same thing. So, don't wish for people to get hurt or make light of shitty situations. It's just kind of fucked up, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. So I guess your more approach is what you were concerned about was the fans attacking the wrestlers itself, like for messing up or getting injured. Versus like I'm more was like, damn, like this pay-per-view was like not the best, and like what the heck was management thinking? Like that was more of my thought. Like what are they doing? They're not looking out for the talent. So I can see where you're coming from now. You were more or less like, you know, the trolls, if you were like, oh, well, if Matt Hardy shouldn't have even planned that spot, or, you know, Darby Allin shouldn't have been even said, yes, I'll be in the bag, or, you know, Matt said, oh, you should have known, you should have checked the ropes first. You're a professional. You know, just stupid comments, I assume you were probably seeing.
Yeah, dude. If you don't like the card, so be it. You know, I don't like every wrestling card I see. That's fine. You don't have to like everything. But, you know, don't wish ill upon somebody out there risking their life to entertain you. It's just a shitty thing to do. And as a wrestler and a wrestling fan of well over 30 years, it hurts my heart to see things like that, because it's like, who are we performing for then? If you don't like it and you don't respect us, who are we performing for? Because we certainly respect you.
Right. And I think Matt Hardy does a good promo tonight, kind of talking about that, which we'll get into. We can get right into AEW. I almost said Impact, but yes, you can check out the Impact tag from yesterday, myself, Ted the Man Beast, and Ben Hamin. As you can tell, Ben Hamin's not here. We didn't even talk about Ben, really. We're just like, start the show. But Ben Hamin's not here because he's busy, guys, doing some marketing work, and some other guys and handling some different things. And of course, he's always got Russo brand stuff he's working on as well. So we decided to give him the day off. And we took over. That's because we can't. Because like now, I mean, Ben Hamin's a good looking guy, but with us, I mean, it's just golden. I mean, I have Chris Silvio here. If you think you have the sexiest podcast, you're tripping. No, I can't even touch this. The marks who do their regular shows, who are just decent looking guys, can't even touch Silvio. Come on, get your head in gear. Get your head in gear.
You either got it or you don't, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, AEW seems to be finding their rhythm here, Silvio, maybe getting back to their normal time slot. Maybe things are returning to normal. Who knows what the case may be, but let's go over some numbers here. So AEW tonight, of course, to spoil this, featured the debut of Miro, and he was revealed to be Kip Sabian's best man. We'll get into that. Dynamite also saw the breakup of the Elite, or more or less the storyline, the fallout there, and the main event's going to feature Brodie Lee and Dustin Rhodes. Last week's unopposed Thursday broadcast of AEW Dynamite garnered 928,000 viewers, which is up from 813,000, which is up from 755,000. So the last time they had a 900,000 episode was August 5th. That might have been after maybe their last pay-per-view or something. The local television Fighter Fest episodes could have been one of those. So great number for them coming off their pay-per-view. And I think Miro tonight hopefully will also have made a splash with the debut as well. Maybe, you know, people might have heard of it and started turning it on and flipping the channels when his stuff came out about being all elite, right? So hopefully there's an even higher uptick than that as well. And then we get into the rest of the numbers here to get to their, I guess you might say their YouTube numbers. Key competition is always it was the MLB games and the NBA games, actually, was last night. But then their YouTube views, unfortunately, were down like significantly. So last week total, they had 3,473,000. This week they had 1,895,000. So there was a huge drop off there. That could have been maybe because people were watching All Out pay-per-view highlights recently, or they watched the pay-per-view. Who knows? The most viewed video, though, was Chris Jericho sending Orange Cassidy that message last week, right before the fight. 370,000 views. The least viewed was Chris Jericho's final words for Orange Cassidy at the end of the night, which was 41,000. And then the total average of all their videos, 110,000. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is your numbers here. Before we get into the actual review itself, Chris Silvio here, I'm just going to check our Light the Fuse Gmail bag, because I got some questions, I think, in our Gmail bag. Somebody hit us up on our Twitter and they were like, hey, what's your guys' email? So guys, I'm stalling here, but I'm going to go ahead here and pull up the Gmail. Silvio, what's been going on in the world of your Superstar Seminar stuff?
Sweet. While you're pulling up Gmail, yeah, let's talk some wrestling. I've been really busy at the dojo here, Side Dojo in Tampa Bay. Our training program in my class is growing. It's at the point now where I'm utilizing every square inch of space we have, so I'm trying to figure out ways to mix everyone in and keep them active. But what's cool about it is now we have some people that are coming in from all over. So we got people on TV that are coming in to pick up some stuff from me and mix in with my students' learning. We've got people that have a lot of experience that are wanting to sharpen up along with our newbies. So it's a really good blend we have. I know we got a lot of wrestlers that listen to this show, and many of you have contacted me, and I know you at least think somewhat positive of me. I encourage anyone that's able to come out and train with me at Sai Dojo. You're going to get the best training possible. And I can say this, you're not going to find any coach in the world that's like me. Whether I'm the greatest or I'm just good, that's for you to determine. But I can guarantee you I have a unique style, all of mine, that no other coach has. So I think that's part of what makes us special, along with Matt's expertise and his knowledge of wrestling. So it's a really good lineup, man. So I've been pushing that hard. My online stuff, just due to what I'm allowed to do as far as like the brain capacity and doctor's orders and all that shit. I'm keeping a maximum of 10 online students at like 2 hours a day tops. That's all I'm allowed to do work-wise. So if you want online training, there's a waiting list, but message me and I'll do my best to get you on that list.
Well, there you guys go. If you want to hit up Silvio and you want to be trained, go to Tampa and get trained at Seidel School with him, and you guys will be amazing. And then maybe you'll go to Italy, because it's going to be like, Silvio's like, I can get you booked there. And then he gets you booked there. And now you're in Italy and you're chilling, drinking, a little cappuccino, looking over the water. I mean, bam, that's the dream. Do it, people. Right. Well, we got some emails, and we got a new email here today. Of course, we've got our standby email. Our legendary cousin Marky Mark did email us, so we'll read his. But let's talk to a new email here. This is from Craig Lowe. And here's what Mr. Lowe says. He says, y'all, guys, great show as always. Just a couple points regarding AEW as a whole. It, for me, is the only wrestling show I can watch. Anything WWE does is way too overproduced and comes across as childish and phony. That being said, AEW at times does baffle me. Somehow they've managed to make every big man look like a, I don't want to repeat that word, but a female anatomy apart from Brodie. Cage is the biggest disappointment. Let's start with his ring gear. He looks like a high-flying Power Ranger, not a big bag mother effer. He, in my opinion, should take a page out of Taz's book and wear the black singlet with towel on his head. Also, every pull apart he does, especially the recent ones with Archer, he looks weak. He looks like he's not trying to hurt them. And then he says, Archer, what the F are the facials he pulls? He looks like he's someone who's trying to act tough, but it also comes across as wrestle crap. Somehow Darby and Starks appear to be more badass than these two, and they're half the size. Brodie is unbelievably good, and how he's managed to get over this creative he was handed is absolute believable, and he's a beast. He's also aesthetically, the Dark Order needs help, though. They need to move away from looking so indie. I'd like them to go back to the shots at Vince. Brodie executes that very well. I'd like to also see the members' identity stripped away and Brodie to create a brass ring for them to compete for. When a member earns the brass ring, Brodie pulls the rug from under them as a direct FU to WWE. I like that. Also, Anna Jay is a great fit for the Dark Order and should become Brodie's right-hand woman. And the last thing he says, this is a question for Ben and Orsil. How important do you think the broadcast commentary team is to any wrestling show? I love listening to JR, Shivani, and Taz. One of my biggest problems with WWE right now is as soon as I hear Cole or any other commentators, I automatically want to turn off the TV. Thank you for your high quality content as always. And his name is El Quifo88 on Twitter. So you can find him there. Silvio, do you think, how important is commentary? I mean, I know this answer because I actually paid for the Superstar Seminar with Brett Tearing, but go ahead, sir.
Commentary is everything. The commentators are the soundtrack to our film. They're the narrator. They're the Morgan Freeman, of Shawshank Redemption. We do our job in the ring, and it's the commentary's job to get over the story that we're telling and get the audience to invest and believe a little bit more in what we're doing. So the role of the commentator on a televised program is as important as it gets. I would say it's of equal importance to the wrestlers. Because if you have the world's greatest wrestlers in the ring and the world's worst commentators, it's going to be shitty. If you have the world's best commentators and kind of shitty wrestling, believe it or not, the commentators might be able to save it a little bit. Still going to be bad, but yeah, we absolutely need them. Do you want to respond to that? Then I'll go over some of the other details he pointed out.
Yeah, I know. I would agree. I mean, based on what I've understood and learned and my own experience commentating wrestling, even doing it by myself, I think it's even more challenging because I don't have anybody to bounce off with. So at that point, I need to be turned up to 100. I need to be excited when it's a high point in the match, and I need to be somber when something horrible happens or something that goes against the grain of what a good guy would do to a bad guy, right? Or a bad guy would do to a good guy, versus vice versa. Good, I should say, as far as female wrestlers too, good guy, good girl, bad girl, etc. But I definitely think without a good commentary team, no one's there narrating the story. And unfortunately, in the case of professional wrestling, we know that it's not real. It's not like a baseball or football where you could turn off the volume and just put music on and watch it, right? With wrestling, it's part of that story. So you need to hear the commentary tell you what's going on, and they need to be reacting as well in hopes that that's how the viewer is going to react, to kind of lead them. So, I mean, that's why Vince McMahon is in the ear of the commentator, because he's trying to tell the audience, this is how you should be thinking and feeling. Unfortunately, though, for him, 2020, people don't want that no more. They want to be able to, they want to hear real, authentic commentary. And he brings up a great point. That's what JR, Shivani, Excalibur does a good job calling the play-by-play. And Taz himself is also a nice character when he's on commentary as well.
Yeah, and that's a difficult task. I've commentated many times. I've never commentated for Vince and had him in my ear. I can only imagine how difficult that is.
Ooh.
Because just like wrestlers, commentators should be organic, and you should get a sense of who they are along with what they're saying. So that's got to be tough for anybody, having somebody buzzing in your ear, calling everything to you. As far as the Brian Cage, the look with the singlet and stuff, just from a professional standpoint, they're not going to cover up a square inch of Brian's body because he looks like a beast. I thought he was saying
Brodie Lee needs to be in the Brian or in the Taz singlet, not Brian Cage.
No, I think he was saying Brian Cage, unless you read it wrong. That he looks like a high flying Power Ranger.
That being said, high flying Power Ranger. Yes, as a Cage is the biggest. Oh, you're right. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Continue.
Fuck you, Maddie. So the reason why I'll quit though is just kind of like a golden rule in wrestling is we always want to accentuate our strengths and hide our weaknesses. So in this case, Cage's physique is his moneymaker. He happens to be a very athletic man and talented in the ring to go along with that. Even if he wasn't that talented, Cage would get opportunities because of the way he looks. He looks great. So we're not really going to want to cover him up, and I'm sure he doesn't want to cover himself up. The Taz towel, I could possibly see that working. But as far as the whole outfit, I think, too, some people would say he's trying to rip off Taz. And fans complain about everything today. So just knowing what I know, I guarantee at least 50% of the audience would be like, oh, now they got Taz in there and Cage is trying to be Taz. He's not Taz. It's 2020. So I definitely see your point. But just from the professional standpoint, that probably explains why they're doing things the way they are. I'm okay with Cage's look. They just got to protect him booking. I see what you're saying with him and Archer and those pull apart scenarios. I think that falls more down to the bookers because I feel like they shouldn't have been put in that scenario together unless they were well protected and something was going to happen. With Darby and Starks in that 10-minute pull apart we reviewed last week, I was laughing because they were blown up. They're going at each other, but they're also smaller, faster, and more agile. They got more gas in the tank, so they can roll around and make shit look. With these big guys, they're going to get tired quicker, and they're not as fast, so the action is going to be slower. Hence why I would have not put them in that situation unless it was well protected and we were going to get some kind of payoff, which I don't believe that we have gotten quite yet.
Not quite yet. There is a question here. I'll pop it up on screen for you here. I'll let you tell the listener this. Mr. Frank's Pickle Barrel wants to know, what was your wrestler name? No disrespect, just new to seeing you.
Sorry, what was the question again?
He wants to know what you went by, your ring name?
Psychedelic superstar Chris Silvio.
There you go. Boom. Or El Sucio, as people knew him by in OVW, right?
Long time ago. Yeah.
Long time ago. Well, after that, I guess we can get into this next email here from our patented cousin, Marky Mark. And he knows how to butter us up here. Hello to the sexiest AEW review podcast. Recently, I listened to Jericho's podcast with the interview on Adasha, and I don't know if they discussed how they have a great women's division, but they need to get their reps in with each other to feel each other out to get to the point where they're having good matches consistently. On the issue I see, he says, is that they aren't fighting each other on Dynamite. The women and the men, for that matter, usually have squash matches against the same group of jobbers on Dark. With no house shows, Dark is the only place they have to work each other, but their ranking system forces the name wrestlers to consistently win against the jobbers to keep a winning record. So I guess to elaborate there, basically what Mark was saying is he's noticed that, yes, they need to build consistent and reps in each other by wrestling, but unfortunately the bigger stars are just getting put over with not long matches, so they're not getting their reps in together. And he believes that's also based on their ranking system, which it plays out on Dark. Another issue with the ranking system is now a guy like Willie Hobbs, who has a great showing in the Battle Royale, similar to Keith Lee at the Rumble last year, had a record of 0-8 before finally getting a win on Dark last week, making him 1-8. How dominant does he look when they flash that graphic on the screen? Is it time for the wins and losses records to go, Silvio? Thoughts? Thanks, Cousin Marky Mark.
What's up, Cousin Mark? Thanks for the question, man, and that's a great question. No, I like the wins and losses. Yes, it does get dangerous when you have people with low-end records. I hate sometimes when I see it on the screen, it's like 0-7. Here's how they will save Will Hobbs if they choose to, is they just keep him winning. Then you tell the story of him winning. As long as guys are getting consistently put over, eventually we usually will buy into the program. So if Hobbs wins the next 10 matches and now he's on a 10-win streak, in a lot of ways, we're going to forget about the 8 losses he had. So, and also that ranking system really helped somebody like MJF, who went into this. I think another part that made their match so interesting, Moxley and MJF, is Moxley's been at the top for a year and MJF hadn't lost. That's a great match where you can't call the finish, where you're like, well, shit, MJF hasn't lost a singles match and Moxley's a champ. So, wow, it stakes. Something means something if they win. They protected, minus the Cassidy thing, Jericho's record was pretty protected. I think now he's got 3 losses or something like that in singles matches.
Yeah, in singles 3, technically, yes.
So I like it as far as that's concerned. There was something a little bit earlier. What was the first part of his message? There was something I wanted to cover from that.
He talked about what his thoughts were on the women with Dasha, saying that they need to get more reps in. Mm-hmm. And then he brought up the fact that he believes the reason for that is due in part that they don't have house shows. So they're limited to only wrestling each other on Dark. However, on Dark, because of that ranking system, they're only putting over the bigger name stars. Thus, the ranking system is affecting these younger stars, and maybe they're not getting a lot of reps in as well to get comfortable. Women and men is what he was saying.
Got you. You're definitely right in the fact that if they're not wrestling house shows, they're not getting as much match experience, which can be tough. However, you can still improve drastically having enhancement matches. And it's up to the company and the performer to make the enhancement matches good. So just because you have an enhancement match doesn't mean like you have to go in and steamroll somebody in 3 minutes. You can have a good competitive match where you're working more intricate things. You're working psychology. You're telling stories. You're trying new things. So that's all down to the performer and the instructions. In my opinion, they should be bringing in a lot of more seasoned guys to work with some of these younger stars. That I know they have Serpentico there, who's very good and has been around a long time. He's the kind of guy you would want with the younger performers, even if, he loses more than he wins. He's somebody they're going to learn from. So I think them having some females like that can help get the new female stars better and teach them along the way is good. But either way, the women's division, unless they are TV ready, like we saw with Deeb and Rosa, they need external work and training in some fashion. If it's not house shows, they need to be, I believe AEW should have them set up at some kind of wrestling school, making sure that they get a return on their investment and these women get the reps that they need. Because as we'll get into this show tonight, unfortunately, after the great match we saw with Deeb, we had the women's division exposed again, and they need help.
Good points there, Silvio. I mean, I think we'll kind of get into that tonight here, what they're doing. I think Vicky is definitely an added bonus for sure to that women's division. She certainly helps it 100%. But let's kind of get into AEW Dynamite. So a little bit different for Dynamite. They didn't start off with a match right away. They kind of give us a little bit something else, a little bit of a shake up here. So we start with Tony Schiavone hanging out in the parking lot, and he's introducing us to AEW this time as both Chris Jericho and MJF show up. And they have a brief interaction with each other, both just necessary, complimenting each other. Jericho says that MJF was basically screwed. Mox cheated him out of his championship, and that he believes that one day he's going to be he's going to get that AEW championship. And then MJF retorts by saying, I think it's a travesty and that it's horrible itself that you had to lose to Orange Cassidy 2 times, and I could see you getting the AEW championship one day. You will one day retain that title. And they're both like, well, you have a good show, or you have a good show. And then as they walk off, it cuts to each cameraman on them, and they both say simultaneously at the same time, what a loser. This was really good. I liked this. Sylvia, what did you think?
Yeah, it was haha. It was good. Nice opening. They're 2 of the most entertaining promos in AEW, and they're on the screen together. I knew that's where they were going. I didn't know the line, but I knew that's where they were going. Like, I could tell they were being insincere to one another, and they're both masters at being that smarmy schmuck. So it was pretty funny. Cool way to open.
Yeah, I liked it. And then after that, we did go into our first match. We went directly into the match. Guys were already out there. We had the Lucha Saurus, Jack Perry, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Marco Stunt taking on Penta El Zero, Pentagon, and Ray Phoenix alongside, I believe he was out there, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, and The Blade. So the whole trio was out there. And these guys went back and forth. Unfortunately, this was not I guess you'd say a good match for the newly formed whatever faction we're calling the Kingston Butcher Blade Zero connection. As they didn't pick up the victory here, Silvio. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, though, Luchasaurus looked good. After getting a loss or after losing it all out, they were able to bounce back at a victory here tonight. What did you think of this match?
I thought it was a great opener. They've been doing a lot of hot tag matches to open the shows recently, and I like it. A possible downside of that is that sometimes if you start too hot, it's hard to follow. So I thought they did a lot of cool tag stuff. We saw the miscue in the finish where Penta goes for the Canadian Destroyer, but Jungle Boy does a switcherooski and he ends up destroying Ray Phoenix, and Phoenix rolls up into the schoolboy from Jungle Jack Perry, teasing some dissension between the Lucha Brothers. The Lucha Brothers are phenomenal. I think Penta is amazing, but Ray Phoenix is just so damn good in the ring that he's just on this insane level to me. As we see here in this video, though, Phoenix almost hit his head twice in this match. The one spot that's coming on our screen now where Luchasaurus did like a choke slam while Ray went for a springboard. Phoenix was trying to take a great bump and I think just kind of under-rotated. Then somehow on the floor a little bit later in the match, we see Phoenix go for his patent flip dive over, and Luchasaurus, I don't want to say didn't catch him, but he didn't catch him. Only problem I'll have with this match is that the Lucha Brothers had Jack Perry kick out of their amazing finish for no reason. It's a package pile driver, which is a gigantic move, mixed with Ray Phoenix's double stomp. Like, why they couldn't have used the ref breakup or anything is beyond me. Like, as a team, I'd want to protect my finish, and that was unnecessary. It'd be different if it was like a tag title match at a pay-per-view and they wanted a big wow moment. But I think hitting their finish just to lose 30 seconds later when Jungle Boy was up and just fine to Schoolboy is little weird. They should have done something different, and maybe the finish never happened. Like they tried the pile driver, and that's where the miscue came in. But I thought that was a little bit weird. And Luchasaurus, he's so big and so impressive, and they kept saying the big man on commentary, the big man, the big man, the big man. But I feel like Luchasaurus didn't exactly come across as the big man once he got in the ring. He's got all the tools in the world, but I want to see Lucha focus a little bit more on being the big, nasty dinosaur and a little bit less on the graceful stuff. Still mix it in. I love the fact that he can moonsault and shit, but people should be running from that dude, and that's what I'd like to see.
And then, of course, post-match, unfortunately, we got another B rating from both the Butcher and then Blade and Pentagon and Phoenix as Phoenix shoves Penta. He isn't happy about the ending. Blade and Butcher both holding back as Kingston gets on the mic. He tells him to stop it. Kingston says that they should be running this place and we should have won the Casino Battle Royale instead of fighting. Kind of takes some shots here by saying, he's the one helping these other guys, not like that British guy who's not here. Oh, and then he also says to, is it Blade? I believe that's what he's going by here in AEW. He says, where's your wife? Where's your wife, huh? I like that line. I was like, yes, finally somebody asked the fucking question. Where is your wife? But she's with QT Marshall on the Nightmare Crew. So Penta shoves Phoenix away when Phoenix offers his hand. Kingston then finally convinces the two to shake hands. And Kingston says that he never was eliminated from the Casino Battle Royale, which was won by Lance Archer. So do you think maybe before October 14th, because they do announce, and that's when they're going to have this Mox Archer match, that we're going to get a Kingston versus Archer match possibly to settle who really is the Casino Battle Royale winner?
No, just because it's heel versus heel.
Okay.
I think we're going to see Eddie do something a little bit more sneaky that might be able to explain the winks and some of the manipulation he appears to be doing. Another very solid promo by Eddie Kingston, who's a great promo. However, we're going to get into this as we progress in the show. I feel like I've seen that same promo cut a few times from Eddie Kingston. Basically the same dialogue, but this time we just added in the Battle Royal bit. So it seems like every week he's running in to do the Stop It Guys promo. Am I wrong there?
I don't think he did it the last time last couple weeks, but yes, as far as any time he's come in to break up this type of fight, it has kind of been like a dad coming and yelling at his kids in the back of the car, stop it, stop it, stop it. You know what I mean? So and he's kind of had that same kind of cadence delivery. The promo's pretty much been about the same content. So I can definitely understand why it just sounds like he's saying the same thing.
No, and nothing against him. He's a great promo and a great worker. Just feel like maybe it's time to change it up.
Beef it up, yeah. Well, after that, then we did go to Jake Roberts, Lance Archer. A little quick video package here. Roberts tells Jon Moxley that we're here to trash people because we like it. Moxley, you're gonna piss yourself when you get a hold of Lance Archer. Archer says Moxley has nothing but despair to look forward to when he meets Archer in the ring. And then Archer says that he continues by saying in the end, he's going to be champion, and everyone dies. They also, Jake the Snake mentions, we like standing in the rain. We like being wet. So it was a good promo here from Jake the Snake. And Archer didn't say too much, didn't need to say too much, so that was good as well.
I don't know where Jake's been going with all these sexy lines lately.
He's trying to be hip, right, with that WAP.
I don't know.
Give Jake credit. Give Jake credit. At least be trying to be in with the culture, right?
Here's the bigger theme of Jake. I was thinking about it this morning when I prepared for the show. Granted, you may not want him in a position of power, but I feel like if I had a promotion and I had a creative team and Jake the Snake worked for me, I feel like I'd kind of want to include him on that team. And it came out recently, an article that I shared with my students that Jake feels like a lot of people today don't know how to get over. They don't know how to cut emotional promos and tell stories. So clearly he doesn't think too highly of the people wrestling at the company he works for.
Everybody here sucks.
So, and in some ways he may have merit to some of those claims. He's been renowned for years as one of the greatest minds in wrestling. So, maybe include him in creative, and maybe he'll have some ideas that'll That'll work.
Look, young Silvio, I was around when Anaconda didn't want none of it. And I gave her that Anaconda. Hacha.
He did.
Yeah, you did. Well, after that, we kind of got our response from Matt Hardy. They made it kind of a little bit of a big deal. They hyped it up to start the show. Hey, Matt Hardy's going to come out. He's going to address it. And I believe they even tweeted it out beforehand. Matt Hardy, he comes down to the ring. He starts to thank the fans, and he, at first he revels, in that fact, right? Like he's got the fans there. They're all excited to see him. He's taking his bows and whatnot, and from there, then he eventually goes on to thank them for their, constantly coming to AEW, all the tweets, all the prayers. It's been sent out a very babyface like promo for sure. 100, as Jim pointed out in our Discord, I believe. I made it, or Facebook. He said that he just kept waiting for somebody to come out though and attack Matt Hardy, right? Like that there was no heat from this segment, that nothing came from it. And I get it. He technically still got injured just now, so they don't want to probably, ignite the fans even further, right? But unfortunately, it was just a very kind of like update promo, maybe something that he could have done it in a video package versus coming out. That's what I've heard from different people. I didn't mind it. What did you think of it?
I could see their point on that, whoever made that comment, because I was expecting
Stranger Sally, yeah.
I was expecting Sammy Guevara to come out. Like when the music hit at the end, I thought it was going to be Sammy's music or somebody to start an angle. Not that there had to be physicality. We could have had people come and separate them because you don't want to touch Matt right now. But yeah, I definitely see that. The reason why I think it had to be in the ring has a lot to do with ratings, because that was a hot segment. Everybody wanted to know.
Right.
I wanted to know, so we put Matt in the ring and we let him speak from his heart and we get the ratings points. It was kind of like he did speak some from the heart, but it was kind of like your traditional babyface promo. So I could see why, people might feel like there wasn't much of a climax to the situation. But I'm glad he's all right, and we got his wife on camera. It's just a big contrast that we're seeing with Matt Hardy, for good or bad. We get the psycho one week that's trying to kill Sammy Guevara, and then we get the ultra babyface the next week. So definitely seen a lot of contrast for Matt Hardy in AEW.
I could definitely see why people feel like he has not lived up to what they expected Matt Hardy to be. Right. And I kind of think that was a little bit of a theme here with some wrestlers, with him. And we'll get to the Kenny Omega conversation later with JR. But there has been some sort of expectation from these fans, or from us as fans, based on what we've seen their body of work. And when they've gotten to AEW, some of them, I even say Kenny Omega has, he tried to a little bit of reinvent himself, if you will. And Matt Hardy has kind of been doing the faces of Hardy. But I think people really wanted to see broken Matt, and we haven't gotten that. We didn't really get it the best in WWE. They schmozzed it from the beginning. So I'm interested to see what is next for Matt Hardy. If he's going to just go back to this regular Matt Hardy, is there going to be different variations of Money Matt, of 80s Matt, or 90s, early 90s Matt, whatever it was he went by. So I mean, what do you think is they should ultimately do here with Matt Hardy if he's going to be chasing his first ever AEW title, in which he says here in the end of his promo?
I would have wanted to see Broken Matt be developed a bit more when he came in before all this. I think one thing AEW struggles with, and I get it to a degree, they struggle with sometimes the booking of established stars. They've done a good job in making some stars, a la Darby, a la MJF. Some people that Orange Cassidy, some people that weren't necessarily a household name that they made come up to a higher level. However, I think sometimes the household names suffer a little bit, as we saw in the case of Matt Hardy, as we saw with, Archer coming in and losing, as we saw in Brodie coming in and losing. Brodie was able to turn the Dark Order around, and I think his work has been just phenomenal. So you got to be a really good performer. We were all talking at the beginning of the Fuse when we started this show. We were all talking about why are the Elite losing so much? Why do the Bucks keep losing? Why does Omega keep losing? Why does Cody keep losing? So I think that's kind of been something that's been around from the beginning. Cody is such a strong babyface and performer that he was able to shake that and shake the Jericho loss and still have this special niche. But it takes a special performer to combat losses in the booking or missteps in the booking. So I definitely agree. I think that's something we're kind of seeing as a theme. But the thing is like, what do you do? Because the old saying is there's only one spot at the top. And if you have a roster full of top guys, there's only one champion at a time. And then there's only one TNT champion. So everybody can't be the man. So as a booker, it's finding that balance. When Vince made the WWF huge, he took the biggest stars from every territory, and they were all the man or the woman in that territory. But some of them were the third match on WWF. So it's this weird line you got to walk as a booker, but I certainly agree, and I'd love to see more from Matt Hardy, and I hope we get to see him at his very best creatively.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely would like to see more of Matt Hardy, just as, maybe chasing that championship. Maybe get one last run for the championship. Doesn't have to be the champion, but, it's a nice little storyline, build him up, or he could be a good foe for Brodie Lee or anybody in the TNT division itself, or he could be a tag team champion as well. There's multiple routes you could take with Matt Hardy. He doesn't have to be the guy on top of the company. But if he wanted to be, if they wanted to make him, give him the ball, Matt Hardy can do it. No doubt about it. Well, after that, someone who's been on a bit of a hot streak, he's beaten a man who's probably beaten more than anybody in AEW, any Hall of Famer, as JR points out. Orange Cassidy. He's been able to take out Chris Jericho twice now. And so he's on a little bit of a win streak, Silvio. And tonight he takes on the returning Dynamite wrestler on television, because we haven't seen him in like months. I believe it was Helico that wrestled tonight, correct? So Helico tonight took on Orange Cassidy. And this was a little bit of a quick match. Orange Cassidy made quick work of him, and he gets the victory here. Nothing too crazy. And Helico did charge him at one point in the corner. Cassidy moved out of the way, jumped down to the floor, hit a suicide dive, tossed him back in, crossbody, DDT, kip up, orange punch, cover. We're done, right? So that was the end of the match, and Orange Cassidy wins by pinfall. There was some stuff that went on after, but to get before that, did you like the match? Did you have any comments on it? These kinds, kind of are similar, maybe more of your style, right?
No.
Professional? No? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
not my style at all.
Not, oh, okay.
They're both fine, fine performers. I have respect for them and Angelica. We hadn't seen them in forever. I'm thinking maybe there was, since they work in Mexico, maybe there was some kind of COVID travel issue. It's the only thing I could assume, or just they didn't have anything for him. So it was weird having him kind of come in cold, not seeing him forever. I don't necessarily think that was the best matchup for Cassidy, booking-wise, at this point in time. It seems like we've went off this weird thing from when Orange went from the thumbs-up, chill, funny guy to where now he's a knockout punch guy. So maybe after the thing with Jericho, we're just now Cassidy's a wrestler and that's it. So maybe we're losing some of the layers of what got Orange over. I don't know. Remains to be seen. But the context of this match, just the thing I didn't like about the match was it looked very, very cooperative and very slow. Like you could tell everything they were doing was like, I need you, you need
planned
me.
Out. Right.
And until the punch at the end, not much looked legit. So I think maybe somebody that could have put a little bit more steam. Not that they're the shits or anything like that. They're certainly not. But
well, immediately after the match, Inner Circle members, Pride and Powerful, LAX, Santana, and Ortiz, whatever you want to call them, come down, and they attack Orange Cassidy. From there, we then get, the Best Friends. They come out, they cut a promo itself, lamenting the fact that they didn't like that, LAX is now, Pride and Powerful has now attacked them outside. They've attacked them at their car, attacked them in the ring, and, they're just tired of basically going back and forth. So next week, why not wait? Why do we have to even go to the ring? Let's meet in the streets. So that's where they're going to be fighting. And then what was it? Beretta got on the mic. He cut a promo, and he said, "We asked you to shake our hand and apologize, and you could take that and shove it up your ass." So it looks like here we're going to be finally breaking it all down in a street fight here, Silvio. After we just had a street fight last week, I mean, should we have it another one?
They should make it different. Like maybe this one is just in the parking lot, and they could add some tricks to it. I popped for Chuck's shirt. Man, I don't know. I see the screen share right here. I don't know if the fans will be able to see this if we play it, but Chuck had the world's greatest shirt. It's him and Trent in the back of the mom's van with what appears to be the mom driving, I think. But it popped the shit out of me when I realized what was on his shirt. So I kind of want one of those.
It does look pretty funny. You can kind of see the van there right there.
Right. And then we got the Orange Cassidy hug at the end, which again, it kind of is like there's just this schizophrenic nature of the booking of Cassidy over the last few months. And I get a lot of that might be due to the lack of live audience. So we can't do as much haha with Orange. And now they're trying to elevate him as a serious wrestler. But it's just like we got one comedy spot kind of in the match. Then he's the guy that knocks somebody out. But then he's also the guy that gets sandwiched in the best friend's hug after he got hit with some kind of prison object. And he's okay. It's just a little all over the place with his presentation. But the match should be good. These two teams work well together.
Yep. So that's been advertised. It looks like next week here on AEW Dynamite, we're going to get these two teams, the best friends, taking on LAX in a street fight. So if you like street fights, get ready. There was a question here that I skipped over. I want to ask you here. So Fudge420, who's been cheering us here in the chat room, we appreciate you. And of course, thanks guys for joining us here on twitch.tv/Hamin Media Group. We know it was kind of unannounced. Ben wasn't here. So not our normal volume of watchers, but you are here so you're the OGs, you're the diehards. So we appreciate you here. So Fudge420 asks Silvio, do you think Tony put Matt Hardy out there to apologize for the company?
Not necessarily, but I think Tony felt it was important to have Matt go out there and say something. I don't know if that was his direct intention or not. Tony Khan does not strike me at all as a malicious guy or somebody that's shady. He might have me fooled, but he seems like a very what you see is what you get guy. And by all accounts, he appears to be a very nice person. So I can't really see him trying to pull too much shenanigans. Sometimes we have to use corporate jargon and stuff like that when we're in a position of power at a company. But I don't think it was as simple as like he apologizes for them. But I think he knew the importance of showing the fans that Matt is healthy.
Well, immediately after that, it looks like we are kind of getting the subtle turns. I mean, they did it this week on Being the Elite. For those who didn't want to be in the Elite last week or this week, it's up at the end. Matt tells Nick to take off the shirt that is the Elite. And then they say it right here. They're like, we're going to go backstage since the Elite has no more, is what Alex Marvez says. We're going to try to get in an edge word-wise with them. So when he hits the door and he knocks on the door, unfortunately, he gets a nice super kick, Silvio. I'm trying to hit play here. It's not working. Eventually will. But he gets super kicked, and because of this, they're going to get a $5,000 fine. Alex Marvez is going to get super kicked here. Were you okay with them utilizing Alex Marvez like this? He's been doing a lot better. Like at the pay-per-view, thought he did a really good job there it is. He gets super kicked. At the pay-per-view, he does a really good job of asking questions. And I thought over the last couple of weeks with Jericho, he did a good job as well. Were you okay with them involving him here like this?
Absolutely fucking not. And
okay.
Yes, Marvez has done a good job recently as opposed to his lingering questions. I got to step in for Hamin, who's out, and sometimes I got to kind of play the bad guy. But there were a few moments of the show where I got hot, and this was one of them. My first reaction was an uncontrollable ha kind of laugh, and then I immediately just got upset. Why am I so upset? One time in OVW, to get over, I came up with an angle where I would smash a record over Brent Terring's head, Timmy Baltimore, who was our commentator. And Rip explained to me, you don't touch the announcers because there's no payoff to that. Rule number one is you don't get physical with the announcers because there's not going to be a match for them to get the retribution. So you're just doing it just to do it. So that's kind of been ingrained in me. Marvez is an outsider. He was not part of wrestling. He was not trained to wrestle at all. And then with that psychology, like there's no reason, unless he's going to be involved in a match, there's no reason to touch him. And the Bucks should have known better. Like, you don't need to super kick Marvez. If you wanted someone to get super kicked, grab one of the 30 extras you have backstage, have Marvez knock on the door, have somebody in a security shirt, that starts knocking for him, and he gets super kicked. And there's Marvez to say, oh my God, looks like the Young Bucks aren't talking. We'll try to catch up with them next time. Why the fuck would you suplex Marvez? What's going to happen? Are we going to see Marvez in a match? Is he going to get hit all the time now? Does he want to get hit? I'm sure that's not what he signed up for. Jesus.
Chris Silvio, sticking up for the commentators. We appreciate you.
I'm
Chris
sticking up
Silvio.
for wrestling. Marvez a little bit, but I'm sticking up for wrestling. That's just bad booking. I'm sorry. I like the Bucks a lot, but come on, boys.
No, you're right. I mean, the only thing that really came out of it is it gets announced later in the night that they got a $5,000 fine, which, I mean, you think if you're even just a regular casual wrestling fan, you're probably thinking, well, they probably make like $5,000 a day at the very least off merchandise. So is that really a big deal?
Let me ask you a question, Matt.
Yeah.
So you're a commentator, you're an announcer. Who would just name 2 guys in pro wrestling that you feel like are tough? If they hit you, it would hurt? Just the first 2 that come to the top of your head.
Alexander Hammerstone and definitely Lance Archer.
Okay. So let's say you're in your commentator role and Archer and Hammerstone legit both kick you at the same time, and you're Matt, the commentator, and they are these fighters, and they both kick you at the same time. What do you think that would do to you physically if they were to both kick you hard?
It would cripple me.
You get pretty hurt. How much work do you think you might miss?
I'd probably miss a couple weeks. I probably shouldn't be working that, or if I am, I should probably be in some sort of accommodation like they did with Britt Baker. I'd be in a wheelchair backstage. You know, we're still an equal opportunity employer at AEW, right? Or wherever I'm at. But I would hope that if I wasn't in that capacity, then you keep me off TV or you keep me from the event. You wouldn't see me.
That's why we got to protect the wrestlers. We got to protect the wrestlers from themselves. We got to protect the announcers, everyone on the show.
I mean, those are good points. So, I mean, can't argue with that. Well, after that, AEW kind of, they didn't really hype this up. I thought they should have hyped more of this up, as considering the fact of the debut of AEW bringing somebody new to the forefront. And that is, Kip Sabian comes out and he's going to do his little introduction about bringing on a best man, if you will. He comes out, he does his thing, and I apologize here if I was talking extra loud. I was trying to load up something here, and this clip is just not stopping, so I've got it running in the background of my ear right now. But Kip Sabian comes out to the ring. He says, you guys wanted it. You guys asked for it, even though they really didn't do anything on BTE, really didn't give us anything to build for this new best man. Comes out and says, people have been hitting me up this whole time about looking to become my best man. I've been getting text messages all day. And first guy that comes out, I guess, is a Twitch follower or one of his friends. I don't know who it is, but he comes out to the ring and he's like, hey, I thought I was your best man. He's like, no, you're my best subscriber, man. And then the next guy that comes out is Brian Pillman Jr. And he goes, no, I sent you a message that said, you're the best, man. And then he tells, Brian Pillman Jr. to have a crappy birthday. And then after that, it was the actual best man. And we got the debut of Miro, a.k.a. formerly known as Rusev. He comes down to the ring, Silvio, and he cuts his own promo about WWE. He says, well, I've been living in a house that's got a glass ceiling with an imaginary brass ring. And you can take that brass ring and stick it up your ass. He calls himself the best Twitch video game player, calls himself the best wrestler, and says that he is all elite. Chris Silvio, what would you have done differently? Did you like this? First off, I guess, did you like this debut, or is there something maybe you would have done to maybe build him up?
I would not have done it this way. I loved the way he threw that line about the brass ring and shove it up your ass. That was cool. And then he had a strong ending to that where he said Miro is all elite. So he made something happen. He came out with Babyface Fire. They started chanting Miro Day or whatever. For interesting choice, he came out with the Slim Shady hair, as we'll see in this clip. That was the first thing that popped into my mind. And then he had on like a Gucci shirt and some interesting fabric Gucci pants. They're not quite jeans, not quite sweatpants, somewhere in the middle. So interesting outfit choice. I wasn't surprised when I found out he was at AEW because I've been expecting him to come for all along. Like, he's a good talent that knows how to get over. So I feel like he could help them. You know, he should be working somewhere. It just makes, I got to be honest, it makes absolutely no sense as to why he would be with Kip Sabian. Kip Sabian
it made no sense at all.
He's a talented up-and-coming guy, but Kip Sabian is an underneath heel who hasn't really been established. And it appears they're trying to bring Rusev in as a upper-tier babyface. So why he would agree to be the best man for an underneath heel that's rising up in the ranks and getting his footing, it doesn't make much booking sense. And it seems like they kind of came with the wedding angle out of nowhere. I feel like the first time I heard about it was maybe like last week, where he came out and announced that I'm looking for a best man. So it was 1 week build. I don't know if this is one of those situations where they needed to find somebody and they're like, oh, well, this is how we'll get him in, or if they planned this all along.
Well, they tried to connect it with the Twitch thing. They were like, well, you know, because both Sabian and Miro are both Twitch gamers and they've got influence on there, and they tried to set it up that way, that they built that relationship through the community of online gaming, which then in turn they were pushing their viewership to go on to their Twitch as well. So from a business standpoint, it's not unwise of them to do so, especially if they're Twitch people and you got people subscribing. That's definitely a way to continue your income. But from wrestling, but this is I was gonna say, but from a wrestling standpoint, what? Right? Why are they friends? There wasn't a backstory. They could have given us Photoshop pictures of them hanging out somewhere or something, right? Training and doing something.
I was expecting the whole time Rusev to like hug him. Yeah, thanks for the offer. I really appreciate it. Boom, lay him out with the line, but no, I'm not interested. It's Miro Day, motherfucker. Like, I thought that's what we were going to get. So maybe he throws him. Wrestling weddings always get crashed, so maybe he's going to beat him up then. I'm assuming an angle, whatever first angle Miro's going to be in, is going to form out of this wedding. But now we're already taking the big badass and putting him in a wedding angle. So I don't fucking know the deal with that. Positive side, that guy Puff I thought was funny. He's an independent talent who's a very round man. I thought he had a funny interaction. Pillman Jr. came out. I think they kind of geeked him up, though, unfortunately. I don't know why they see enough in Pillman to keep bringing him, having him work dark. But I don't think that was the spot for Pillman. I think they could have used anyone else because he just kind of got punked by Kip Sabian. And standing them next to each other, Pillman could whip Sabian's ass by appearance.
Yeah, why wasn't it like Griff Garrison? That was a perfect role for him. They could have brought him out and he could have been the best. What? Yeah, I'm not your best friend, bro. We travel all the time. What are you talking about? Just something stupid like that. You know what I mean? And then you wouldn't have to bury Brian Pillman Jr. You're right, because he's got these. I mean, whether he's still younger as a younger wrestler, he still has the name attached to, you know, there's a value in Pillman Jr. the name, and you don't want to leave viewers with a sour taste right now when he hasn't even gotten off the ground, right? Stranger Sally, just to let you know, they actually did say it on commentary that they mentioned on Twitch. So I do want to clarify. Mm-hmm. They said Miro and Sabian became Twitch friends, if you will. But
hey, that was like real quick, Matt. I did like at the pay-per-view, I think it was when they had Sabian come out to Billboard the Best Man thing, where he advertises Twitch, and then at the bottom it said All Elite Wrestling endorses this message. Like,
right, third party,
real
right.
Cool jab.
Yeah, they were definitely taking some jabs there, especially with the Twitch stuff throughout the evening. After that, we got a sit-down interview, so we're going to get a follow-up here. And I think that was a definite sticking point in tonight's show is the breakup, if you will, of All Elite and getting everyone's reactions. So we saw the Young Bucks kick Alex Marvez. This time we see Tony Schiavone sitting down with Hangman Page. Tony asks Page now, you know, how's he doing? Page gives the typical sports answer, and then Tony says, look, I don't want the stock answer. I want to know really how you're doing. Page says at the show that, you know, he saw the fans there, but for 30 minutes, he didn't hear a sound. Like, everyone was holding their breath. He felt like everybody was just waiting for him and Omega to fall apart. Page says FTR shouldn't have even been the number one contenders, but that's his fault as well. It's his fault that he lost his two friends. Tony brings up Omega walking away after the match and leaving the building with the potential of him hitting him with the look like an end table or a TV dinner tray that I use in my house. Page says that they won a bunch of matches before. Now it's just a matter of climbing back up the mountain. Just like before, they will get threw it again. So they set this up the other way. Hangman thinks that this they're going to move forward. What did you think of this interview with Hangman Page?
He did the whole sad cowboy thing.
Right.
I like the look. I like what he wore during the interview, and I'm a big fan of Tony. He delivered his lines well. Hangman is a strong promo and a strong wrestler. I want to get back, though, to the beer drinking, ass kicking Hangman Page. Just a few months ago, he was drinking beer and kicking ass, and he didn't really care if the Young Bucks liked him. He didn't even really like his own tag team partner, but he would get in, he'd get the job done, and he'd get out. And he was kind of like this renegade badass. Now we're kind of seeing like a more sympathetic soap opera-y kind of character from Hangman. So I not to say that it's bad or anything like that, because Hangman's a hell of a talent, but let's bring him back, man. Let's see him kicking ass again. Enough of the soft side of Hangman.
Right. That's why I agree. I liked it when they started the tag team, where it was, even though Hangman wasn't getting along with the Bucks, he was being his ass kicker self. Come out, drink a beer, punch somebody in the face, get out. Like, I like that. Hangman. The renegade.
And yes,
exactly.
COVID is to blame, because when he started getting hot, COVID happened and he had to stay home for a little bit. So I understand that. But when he came back, he did come back kind of similar to how he left. Then we saw it progress into all this where he's getting manipulated by the Revival. And now he's sad because he lost all his friends.
Yeah, the only thing he was doing on being the Elite during that COVID time in California was I think he was just going out into like his house is or wherever because for those who don't know, Adam Page was a teacher beforehand. He had a successful teaching career, so he owns a house, a home, and all that. So I think it was somewhere on his property, like with trees or whatever, and he was like doing a outback kind of like shtick where he was like, I'm going out in the woods to refine myself. So that's kind of where we started to see this sensitive Adam Page start to happen. So in this case, Silvio, that is one thing that they did leave off TV. That was good to leave off TV. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager were up next. They took on Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela in a no disqualification, no count out match.
Did they say that beforehand? Because I was surprised when the chair came in.
They kind of said it as like he was coming out to the ring, but that's about it.
Was there a text graphic at any point?
No, it was just JR straight up saying that Jericho told Joey Janela he can have any match he wants. So he chose a no DQ, no count out because that's his specialty. So that was really all we got. But after that, so the match starts off. Janela does kind of get some early offense in. Then he tags into Kiss. They do a double guillotine off the top rope, double bulldog, and then some double drop kicks. So some tag team maneuvers there. As Jake and Jericho, or as I'm going to be affectionately calling now Jager, the new tag team, they're looking to move up through the tag team division, and we'll get more to Jericho's promo. But they worked well here, of course, together. Two tag team veterans. They are two tag team guys. Both single stars as well. Veterans of the industry, know how to work with camera, know how to work in a match. Thought they led the match really well with Janela and Sonny Kiss here. Some big spots. We saw Janela get tossed out on the floor into the barricade. Janela grabbed a chair and jammed it into Jericho's midsection, then cracked him over the back, set up a chair, leaped off of it, caught him in midair and took a back suplex. Then Jericho slapped him with the chair itself. We saw Janela go through a table at one point in time as he got thrown off their stage through the table. But ultimately, in the end, we see Jager, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager pick up the pinfall as Hager planted Kiss to the mat, locked in the head and arm submission, and the referee counted to 3. Winner's match with Jager. Afterwards, they did cut a promo. Before we get into that promo, what did you think of the match?
Go ahead, cover the promo. It was short.
Okay. Yeah, post-match, Jericho basically stakes his claim, saying that the Inner Circle has had a terrible night at All Out. He's lost to Cassidy twice, but it's all in the past now. He says him and Jager are going to build up their wins to impress the AEW higher-ups that are coming, and they're coming for the tag team title. So it seems like one put-together tag team ended with Hangman and Page, which we'll get into here with Omega's promo, and then now we're putting another one back together with Jager and with the Jager pair. So maybe they see this as kind of a winning strategy to have one type of superstar team together.
I kind of got the same vibe of that. For the match itself, I didn't understand the no DQ part. So when I saw Janela come in with the chair, I was like, why isn't she disqualifying him? What's happening? So they probably could have made that clearer. I don't remember at any point prior to the show or on their social media seeing anything that advertised no DQ.
That is correct.
Count out. I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me if I am. But I didn't see any of it, so they needed to do a little bit more job telling us what we got. It made sense, like Jenna asked too, she's like, why is it no DQ? The only sense I can make of it is, yes, last week Jericho did bloody up Joey and stuff, so it makes sense for him to want to get revenge, and then Joey style his tables and stuff like that, so I could see why they did it. It just needed a little bit more explanation. The match itself had some pretty cool stuff in it. And they really went out of their way to put the baby faces over. They were bumping all over. They were really letting Joey and Sonny shine, which is a nice thing to do. We had a little funny spot where Sonny got a little overzealous when they were doing their pose. Like it looked like what's his name? Joey was supposed to clothesline Jake Hager over the top, and then Sonny would do like a handspring onto Joey's shoulder while he flexes, and they do a little cutesy pose together. But Sonny kind of jumps the gun on it, puts his foot on Janela's shoulder. Joey throws it off, then hits Hager, then they go back to it. I just thought that was kind of funny. The one thing I could say I didn't like about the match was Hager was bumping a lot for Sonny Kiss.
He was.
And just like size comparison alone, I think we need to protect Hager a little bit more. Sonny's just not big enough to have the knockout power. I'm not big enough to bump Hager unless it's something where I'm using myself as a projectile, like a missile drop kick, like a fancy Hurricane Rana. At one point, Sonny gave Hager a forearm. It was a nice forearm, and Hager took a flat back bump as if he took it from Brodie. So I thought a little too much selling from Hager, but we got the win and we established a new team. So I'm excited about this team.
Yeah, so it sounds like here that they're gonna try and climb up the AEW division, and as we'll see later on here in the FTR tag team stuff here, that there's a lot. It's a deep division, as you mentioned here. I'm showing here a GIF here of Sonny Kiss's forearm right there. You were talking about to Jake Hager, with Jake Hager selling. So yeah, it's a lot of selling from Jake Hager, but ultimately I am excited too to see where this tag team goes and to see if they can climb the ranks, and if we're going to see a little bit of a tag team, Les Champions, or maybe we'll get a little bit of the Jager, I saw Stranger Sally like that name already. So after that, after we get this tag team match, if you will. As far as the show is concerned, I mean, we did take a little bit. They were kind of going back and forth between the interviews and the matches and whatnot. Now we went to MJF. We're at his place, his campaign headquarters. And MJF's with his crew. Now MJF says that Dictator John cheated to get his win at the pay-per-view. MJF says that this campaign is to blame. It was supposed to create change, and they blew it. He fires everybody, tells them to get out. One person leaves, and his Nina, the campaign female lady there, her correspondent, PR, or whatever you want to call her, she's just sitting there smiling. And MJF goes, "Oh, now you're smiling. Even when I told you not to smile." And he yells at her to get out and says he's tired of looking at her face. She leaves crying. The gum guy gets up. He does his job one more time, gives him the gum, and then he leaves. And then Wardlow does say, "Sir," and then MJF starts yelling at Wardlow. They tease a little bit of dissension, but MJF says, "What are you going to do? Tony Khan doesn't pay your checks. I'm the one that's paying your checks." He says that he's his only friend. That if he has to put him and his family on the street, he will. That's, of course, Wardlow backs down, and then MJF says, "Great, I'm glad. We don't have a problem. We got a new plan to work on." For those who watch BTE, Silvio, they did have the Dark Order tease some Wardlow interaction this week. John Silver and Grayson, or I'm sorry, I don't know. Is it Silver and what's the other guy's name?
Reynolds.
I never get these. Reynolds, I'm sorry. So Silver and Reynolds go in with their Kool-Aid shtick, and they really put over Wardlow. They kind of do the whole Dumb and Dumber shtick where they're like, "Wow, he's got a nice body," and they rattle off all the jokes. I'd like to see that body going away before coming. Nice butt, blah 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 blah. Basically, like homosexual undertones they were hitting on him, right? But then Wardlow was like, "We'll have to continue this conversation later." So they have teased that Wardlow is getting interest from the Dark Order, which he would be a good pairing with Brodie Lee for sure. But that being said, what did you think of the demise of MJF's campaign?
It was kind of funny because when it came on, I was like, oh, they're still doing the campaign thing. And then he immediately fired him. I was like, oh, I guess they're not. It was funny. He told Nina something about yellow stained teeth. And then I think he said, in your bullshit face. Like that popped to me. And then the gum guy and MJF takes the gum and then throws the rest down.
Right.
Out. So I don't know. Are we getting a tease for a babyface turn of Wardlow? That's what I'm thinking. How long is MJF going to be able to keep him in track? So interesting development.
I don't know if I kind of like Wardlow staying as a heel. I think he.
Me too.
But I definitely could see him at some point in time flipping on MJF. That's good. It's going to end up leading to, right? I mean, that's what these type of pairings always end up leading to, unless you end up being long-term friends forever. I don't know, like Ben Hamin and Chris Silvio. They'll never trade on each other.
Nope.
Never. Well, after that, we got Mox's response. Mox kind of responds himself, says, life ain't easy when you're the champ. He puts over the fat. He goes, as soon as the bell rang after I win that match and then Archer wins his match, I'm like, son of a bitch. It never ends. He says that if he didn't already have enough on his plate, Archer is the number one contender. Says it's not getting any easier, but it never does. He continues, the only way to be AEW champions, though, is to climb through a mile of crap and then climb a mile over the other side. Moxie feels like he's unstoppable. And when the time comes when him and Archer's paths cross, he asks him, do you really want to bet against me? What'd you think of the promo?
Very good. I really love Mox's promo work as of late. I definitely put Moxley in the running amongst the best promos in AEW. At this point of the show, I wrote down in my notes, promo heavy show, ? So we'll see where that takes us as we do our review. I like the line he said about being the number one man in the sport. I always like how that's referenced, and the crawl through a mile of crap to climb a mountain, I thought was a cool reference. But what do you think, Matt? Who would you say is the best promo running in AEW or top two? And is Mox up there on your list?
I think Mox is up there. I'd say I don't know if there's any one person I can look at right now on AEW, and other than maybe a Jericho, where I can say who has the ability to just deliver an outstanding promo every time. But Mox would be up there. Cody would be up there. Cody delivers a good promo. Jake, even he doesn't have to say much. He delivers a very good promo, but that's always, been one of his best assets, if you will. But he's not a wrestler, so it would probably be Mox, Cody, so I'd have to say those two right now are probably your best two promos within the company. MJF is just under there, but there's a couple, he's still got some learning. He's a younger guy, so I don't want to say he's the best right now.
There you go. Fair enough.
What did you, who do you think is, did you say you thought it was Mox and Cody, or?
I would say Mox. I wasn't even thinking Cody, which I should, because he's a phenomenal promo. So I would say Mox, Cody, Jericho, and MJF. Mox's promo work has just been phenomenal as of late. I've really been digging it. Every time he speaks, I'm forced to pay attention, which is the mark of a great promo.
Yeah, and I like how he always does. If you've seen here on twitch.tv/Hamin Media Group, you can take a look here. And I'll probably upload this to YouTube later. You can see where they're shooting this. I always like how they shoot it in these underground scenarios for him, whether he's in a garage or he's in an alley somewhere or he's out in the middle of nowhere. It definitely adds the edge to his character. So I do like that they add that to Mox. And they don't do that for a lot of other people, I think. They do it for a lot of their top stars like him. So, Darby Allin gets that type of treatment too. Archer gets the type of treatment, right, where they get to go on these on locations and have these out of the arena or out of regular wrestling settings to build realness with the character, right? It doesn't feel just hunky-dory and wrestling all the time. But you're right. It was a very heavy promo show. They're definitely building storylines here. It sounds like they're listening to some fans. They're still delivering good quality wrestling matches or still trying to cater to those wrestling fans. But also on the entertainment standpoint, realizing, hey, we do need to build characters and we do need to build a reason for these matches to take place. But good stuff overall. I liked it too. So. After that, they were backstage here. We then get the FTR celebration, Silvio. So we got FTR comes out to the ring. They've got a cake and everything with Tully Blanchard. They've got some beers. You see all the tag teams standing around the ring. You see Private Party. You see who else? SCU, Billy Gunn and his son Austin Gunn. They handed a beer to SCU, which I thought was cool. But that was a nice little touch. They do rag on them at one point, as they start their promo. Tully Blanchard's in the ring. He says that they're here to celebrate FTR being the greatest tag team champions in the world. Tully says it was 117 degrees in the ring when they went for 30 minutes to win the titles. Wheeler then takes the mic, being, I believe it's Dex. Is that what it is? Or is that Cash? Or Dax?
Wheeler.
Yeah, Dax Wheeler. So Dax takes the mic and says that the tag team division in AEW is the deepest in the world. Says it was an honor to wrestle SCU. Can't believe they got the opportunity. He says he doesn't know what it would have been like if they'd actually got to wrestle them 20 years ago when they were in their prime. You see Daniel's mouth tick as there. They got jokes, huh? They go over to Hardwood, and Hardwood says that they are the top guys in AEW now. And then they start to rag on Luchasaurus. They ragged on Billy. He says that he's a legend. He's a multi-time champion. Says, but don't by thinking that being in some second-rate Hall of Fame that he and his snot-nosed kid are going to get to jump to the front of the line. Then he rips on Jurassic Express, who eventually then get into the ring. FTR says, to hold off, that this is a celebration, that they're not here for a fight. They try to have him toast. He says, let's toast to a dumbass dinosaur. This enrages him. Then they jump out of the ring. And I totally could see this in the background with Marco Stunt. He was grabbing the cooler. I was like, okay, they're going to dump him. And that's what they do. They dump the ice and the beer all over FTR. And then everybody gets in the ring and eats cake. And that's how this segment ended. A little bit weird to end with them eating cake and kind of celebrating. But I get it. It was the celebration itself of the tag team division. What'd you think of all this?
So I have some interesting notes here. There were high points, and then this was the second point of the show where I also got hot. I think FTR maybe delivered their best promo yet in AEW. I thought it was great when they were just ragging on the teams around the ring. I thought that was cool. Their lines were good. They were funny. The Billy Gunn line popped me. The SCU line popped me. And they both delivered very well. It was kind of funny. I thought Tully was wearing a neck brace for a while. Then I realized it was just his mask, his neck gaiter. Then we had the haha at the end with Marco Stunt when the FTR was kind of caught because they just insulted everybody. Now they're on the floor between everybody.
Right.
Then for the first time in wrestling history, we had a cake that nobody went through. As you alluded to, the boys just ate cake. Well, here's where I got very, very angry, and I'll read my notes verbatim after I say this. So Lucha gets in. Jungle Boy, I don't think, got in. So it was Lucha and Marco in there. Jungle Boy stayed out, and they did the spot that ended up with them getting the cooler dumped on them. Seconds after that happened, it's just been signed was the verbiage used. It's just been signed that next week we're going to see Jurassic against FTR. So here's the end of my notes. Marco dumps cooler on their heads. Match announced instantly. This must stop. The boys eat cake. These are my real notes. So I finally had my fill. AEW, they must stop this practice of as soon as they build an angle, immediately saying the match is booked for next week. Let it build. Now it's just telling us that the angle was phony because you had the match build already. Wait an hour later before the main event or as you're going off the air. Just announce we're going to have, you saw Marco dump the cooler. Well, we're going to see them have a chance to get even with Jurassic Express. They do this all the time. All the fucking time. Angle happens. Seconds later, the match is signed. Who can sign a match that quick? The men in the ring didn't have time to sign anything. They were still there.
Hot, Sylvia. Not taking it anymore. You make a good point, though. Like logic that doesn't present any logic. The match has been signed. Like what?
In seconds. Like who was waiting there to sign that match? Who makes these decisions?
That's true. They never even.
I must see this now.
You would think at least you'd wait throughout the rest of the night. Like sometimes they do it right? Like when when they announced that the Young Bucks got fined, they waited a couple segments and then went, hey, by the way, we're giving you an update on Alex Marvez. Young Bucks were fined $5,000. Like that was a nice touch, little detail, but then this doesn't make sense where it's immediately after a match and, it's signed for next week. They're good. They're going to fight. It's like, wow, that was really fast.
And that happens regularly. Just give it a 30 minutes. Then you could say it's been announced.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff, Silvio. Well, after that, we got Taz comes out quickly for his commentary segment. This is the only moment of the night where we get Taz here. So Taz comes out, he jumps on commentary, and he basically recaps Ricky Starks and Brian Cage beating up Darby Allin during the Casino Battle Royale. And then Darby Allin's music plays. He comes out, it's Ricky Starks. So Ricky Starks comes out dressed as Darby Allin, and Starks says that I finally got hurt and I broke my pinky and I got some tacks in my feet. And Starks says there's a reason why nobody wants to tag with Darby Allin. There's a reason why he's sitting at home hurting alone, because he's reckless. He's not resilient. He's reckless. And then Starks goes on to say that I'm the one that's resilient. And I'm going to show you that I'm resilient by the next time you showing up in AEW, I'm going to beat your ass. This is a nice quick promo. I liked it from Darby Allin. Ricky Starks got me so confused. He sounded so good on the mic here. Great delivery. I liked it. What did you think?
Ricky Starks is a hell of a promo. I really enjoyed his delivery, what he had to say, and it got me more excited. I want to see them two already because I think it's a great matchup, size and style-wise. But he got me more excited for it, which is the job of a promo. So well done to Ricky Starks. A little bit similar because he did dress as Darby a few weeks ago and had the same opening. It was a different ending this time. So I don't know if maybe they might be going to the well too many times. But he did a fantastic job with the promo. And it was at this point where it started becoming a very promo-heavy show. And so it was difficult for a good promo to get across, and Starks achieved that. So good job.
No, I agree. And I what did you think of them bringing out Taz though? And that's such a small segment. I felt like he could have been utilized better. It wasn't really necessary for him even to be there.
I was kind of indifferent to it. I mean, I suppose they could have just had him come out and been like, I announce here that we're going to bury the hatchet with Darby, or that Darby's here and I got a challenge for him, something. But I'm indifferent. It doesn't matter.
Well, I definitely think that they should have done something more with Taz here. I just like seeing Taz. Maybe they should.
He's great on commentary. Give me more.
Yeah, definitely give me more. There's a question here I actually skipped over here. Somebody brought up that they need to get Spears in with FTR and Tully, and they were a little shocked, like, hey, where was Spears tonight? Were you expecting to see Spears after that Casino Battle Royal too? After him coming out with Tully there, during the Battle Royal, or sorry, during the Battle Royal. And then last week when we talked about AEW, he was there in the Schmoz Fest in the background, and he grabbed the glove.
I'm expecting to see him with FTR at some point. I don't know why we didn't get it tonight. Maybe because it was tag team night. And then he would have had to beat up Marco. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, after that, we got a debut here, Silvio. We've got a brand new, or at least debut on Dynamite. She's been wrestling on Dark as part of the AEW's women's tag division bracket that they went through that we never got to see really anything of. That was Tay Conti. I'm sorry. And it sounds like when we had Miss Jenna Van Muscles on, she's worked with Miss Tay Conti before in the past. So we definitely
I don't think she's
maybe it was the girl she was fighting then, Heather Monroe.
Yes,
I don't know.
Heather Monroe.
Okay. So apologize. But yes, Tay Conti debuts now. She teamed with Anna Jay during this tag team bracket scenario. And afterwards, the Dark Order did make her an offer. We haven't really gotten a follow-up to that, but she came out tonight and, she came out a little bit of motion, right? Because of kind of her debut on Dark, and then immediately, slipped back into her character, and she had her match with Nyla Rose. And, Nyla Rose dominated, this match as she should. She's the beast. And then afterwards, we had the Vivacious Vixens, now being known by that being Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose. And Vicky cuts a promo, and they were just about to start beating down Tay Conti further, but the champion comes out and makes the save with a kendo stick. What'd you think of all this, Silvio? Everything.
Conti is an interesting story, as there was one point where she was at NXT and it seemed like she was trying to walk out or quit or something. And then she came back, and then they came to terms on her release. So that's an interesting story. I guess that might be the emotion behind her when she came through the curtain. Like, maybe I'm finally getting my chance. Maybe she thought she should have gotten more than she did. I don't know what she's thinking, but that's the vibe I got. Ty Conti has a really good look, and she has a background in some different fighting. Like, she was a judo player. I think they said she does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, shoot wrestling. Good look and a good background. She's just still very green. That wasn't the right matchup for either of them. So I'll just say nobody won in that match. We got Vicky at the end, which helped me, but she got a few of her things in, like her bars and her throws, but Nyla wasn't necessarily the best person to be taking those, and Conti's offense and footwork isn't as believable yet to be able to thwart a foe like Nyla. It was a interesting choice for her debut match, to say the least, because, again, we debut a new star, and we said we just signed her today. And she showed some offense, and she didn't die. You know, she got her some shit in, but we had her lose on her TV debut. I don't think there was any winner in that match, unfortunately.
AEW seems to do a lot of that, and I get it. They're bringing in new people, but to that point, it seems like every person that usually gets brought in, unless they've got some sort of big name value, they just lose. Which continues to, I think, set a perception to those WWE fans or those trolls online. Well, all they're doing is bringing in WWE guys and putting them over. And to some extent, I can see that argument. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I could see it to a degree. But it was just interesting choice for that matchup.
Interesting choice, and yeah, definitely it would have been nicer if maybe she could have gotten a victory. I mean, they're bringing in these people, like I said, they're not really building new stars.
They weren't right for each other there, and they should have made sure that Conti looked a lot more TV ready than she was.
I just want to take a quick moment here, guys. Thank you so much if you're watching here live on twitch.tv/Hamin Media Group. That's right. You never know where we're going to end up being live. Could be here, could be the Conspiracy Horseman, or maybe you're watching this back later on YouTube, as I will have this uploaded to our Hamin Media Group YouTube. And of course, right here on hackerhamin.podbean.com. Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to check out our sponsors, thebrosters.com. Go ahead and pick up yourself a bag of Russo Bro coffee. It's fabulous. You'll love it. You'll enjoy it. So pick up yourself a bag of Russo Bro coffee. Don't forget to pick up a bottle of Zordos olive oil. And Zordos olive oil, you can go to www.zorosoliveoil.com. Get the finest artisan olive oil itself. And now to get back into the show. So now we go to Cody apparently he's going to be making an announcement. Well, that announcement.
Breaking news.
They announced this new talent show on TBS, which is good for him. They're going to be promoting him in that facet. So he'll be working with Snoop Dogg, Rosario Dawson, some other people, and they're going to be judging a talent show. So that was the breaking news. It's going to be on TBS, which, like I said, that'll be good because then they'll be like every episode from AEW wrestler Cody Rhodes. So, and good cross promotion on the brand. Did you see the trailer for this at all, Silvio?
That's what closed the show, so I'm going to cover that in the order in which it was received.
All right. Well, earlier today, Jim Ross then sat down with Kenny Omega and asks him, what happened over the weekend, if you will, or what happened. And Omega says that, when you've done this for 20 years, you win belts, you lose belts. And Omega says him and Paige did have chemistry in the ring, and that's why it worked. Even though they had their miscommunications outside the ring, when they got in the ring, the wrestling worked together. They gelled. However, he said for them to do that, they had to go to the deepest and darkest parts of themselves, and he didn't like what he saw in Hangman Page. He didn't like that dark side. So, or maybe his alcoholic side, or his unwillingness to just flip on a dime without really thinking things through. Right? Could have been a number of different things. But Omega says that the tag team division is tough, and that he says that unfortunately for Hangman Page, that if he wants to go for a rematch, or he thinks they should, rebuild themselves as a team and go after the title again, that he should probably rethink those plans. That he gave a year of his life to tag division, and he wants to move to singles competition. I should also note that he also addresses the fact that people thought that there was going to be more of Kenny Omega, right? When he first joined AEW, they believed that he was going to be the ace of the company. And Kenny Omega said he actually had found himself in a position where he liked what he was doing. He liked being part of that tag team division. But ultimately, now he is going to be heading back to singles competition. The ace is going to be returning. 60-minute matches are coming back, Chris Silvio.
Yeah, Mega announced he's going to go back to singles action, and I think he was right on the money in the promo that a lot of people did want to see that Kenny Omega. So I like Omega's work, and I would like to see him be a top-tier singles guy. So let's see where he goes from here. And I thought the promo was pretty well delivered from Omega as well.
Yep, no, it was a good promo. It wasn't too cheesy, or anything like that. It was just kind of felt a little bit more of a real Omega. So I liked this, but I did notice in this promo, I don't know if you noticed it, he was wearing all black. He was wearing a black shirt in this. And I was like, ooh, is Kenny getting ready to turn to the dark side? So I don't know, maybe that was just my observation.
And Matt, you went a little bit out of order on this, but I have this in my notes because we had the teaser earlier that we'd hear something from Cody. At this point in the show, we get breaking news. We're going to hear from Cody in this breaking news.
Well, actually, they said it during the match. That's why I brought it up then. I apologize because JR and Shivani actually are trying to put it over during the breaking news of the match. So that's kind of why I was trying to say it there. Gotcha. But then, yes,
also
you are.
Seeing on TNT, I'm seeing on TNT Snoop Dogg Corona commercials for Corona beer, which just sounds funny advertising Corona during coronavirus. So I remember that in my mind, and I put it in my notes, like kind of weird Snoop and Corona. It all will make sense later today.
Okay. So they do run down the card, which is weird. By the way, guys, if you're watching us live today on Thursday, we don't know if we're going to be here next Thursday. We could be here next Friday because they don't know if we're going to be here, if they're airing next Wednesday night or next Thursday night. So just make sure to follow us on Hamin Media Group on Twitter. Make sure to follow us here on twitch.tv, Hamin Media Group, and on Conspiracy Horseman, and you'll be notified when we go live. Also follow Bin Hamin. So just follow those 4 platforms and you'll know when we go live. As far as the podcast, you'll get it when you get it. Now, they did run down the card. Best Friends versus Santana Ortiz next week in a parking lot fight. FTR will be taking on Jurassic Express as during the middle of the promo. They announced that Jurassic Express, they will be facing them next week in a non-title match. They did say here that if Luchasaurus wins, that they potentially will get a championship opportunity. A championship match will be happening next week in NWA. Women's World Championship, as Thunder Rosa will defend it against AEW star Evilise. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager will take on Private Party. MJF's going to be in action, and we're also going to see the return, which we haven't seen in a while, Hangman Page in a singles action against Frankie Kazarian. So those were the matches that they broke down. Now we get into the main event, ladies and gentlemen. The match of the night, Brodie Lee with John Silver taking on Dustin Rhodes, AWTNT Championship. So Rhodes gets after Lee during the match announcement, and then the action spilled out to the floor. 2 brawled around. Back body drop sent out by Rhodes, sending Lee over a table. Rhodes then sends Lee into some steps. Lee fights back. Silver tries to get in, but he gets kicked by Dustin. Silver does make a couple appearances in this match where he's trying to add distraction and help to Mr. Brodie Lee. The 2 wrestlers they'll make their way into the ring. The bout gets unofficially started. Dustin works over the champ in the corner, throws about 15, 20 punches at him. They go back and forth, and then Lee eventually catapults Dustin neck first onto the bottom rope. I don't know if you saw that. Mm-hmm. Champ continued to work over Rhodes. Dustin fought back with a clothesline, drop down, uppercut, bulldog, and a spinning power slam. And then Dustin was taunting a little bit. Then he got out as he was coming off the second rope for a Hurricane Rana, and then he got a 2 count. And then Dustin landed the crossroads, but then Lee kicked out of that for a near fall. And then at the conclusion of the match, Lee got back up, powerbomb, went for a cover, only got a 2 count. Lee charged him into the corner with a big boot. Dustin moved out of the way, and then Lee went out to the floor. Then Dustin hit him with the cannonball senton off the apron. Got back in the ring, and then Silver tried to go for that distraction again once more. But unfortunately, this didn't work as Lee was the one who got low blowed. Then Silver dived off the ropes, got sent out of the ring. Dustin hit a pile driver. Well, I should say he tried to hit the pile driver first, couldn't get him up, and then eventually did hit the pile driver. A little wonky, but these are two big dudes. So what do you expect? We'll let him pass. It's if you're trying to see a giant pick up another giant, you're okay if it's a little sloppy there. So he hits the pile driver, goes for the pinfall attempt. Unfortunately, though, he's in the corner as Lee gets his hand on the rope. And move back into the middle of the ring as Lee thrusts up, hits 2 thrust kicks, discus lariat, 1, 2, 3, winner of the match, Brodie Lee. Do you want me to go over the post-match stuff to end the show? Yeah. Okay. All right. So after the match, Dark Order does come out to celebrate. They bring a beaten up QT Marshall to the ring to show that he can't come out and help his partner. Colt Cabana comes out, and apparently Lee is still mad at him for costing the group the win. So I was wrong. I thought he was still in the group, but it looks like Lee wants him out. He's out of the group. He's still trying to be part of it. It looks like Grayson is still trying to have him come out because he's still trying to be a little bit of a handler, but Lee sends him to the back. Uno talks with Colt as they head to the back. Dustin is picked up. Lee kicks him between the legs to give him his own shattered dreams. And Lee gets his title and holds it up high. And then they do the breaking news. Cody says you should go big or go home. And he's injured right now and introduces his TV show. And that's how it ends.
Hosted by Bert Kreischer.
Hosted by Bert Kreischer, yes.
Okay, so notes for this match. It was a very good matchup as far as putting talent versus talent. I was excited to see it and glad it was in the main event slot. It looked very hot in that arena. Like watching both of them. I live in Florida and it's fucking hot here. So I could tell like those two big dudes in full body suits, they were hot during that match.
Yeah.
And I mean temperature wise. It's big versus big, so we got a little bit of clunky stuff like on the pile driver, but well delivered, good pace. The slingshot or catapult, as you called it, that you mentioned, I did notice, and I put that in my notes because Brodie did it the right way. So wrestlers listening, the way you do this is you put your opponent's upper body on the first rope, and when you sit back, their neck goes into the second rope. You're going to get a thing that looks more devastating. Most guys will do it with their head under the bottom rope, so there's only like this much room to go, and it's not that impressive. So I noted that Brodie did it the awesome way. And on Brodie's finish, he took his head off in a safe way. It looked believable as fuck. He did a power bomb at one point to Dustin. That was about the safest power bomb I've ever seen, so you could really tell that, Brodie has a lot of respect for Dustin and wanted to make sure he was taking care of brother. Good match. We saw the Nightmare family get beat up again as QT gets tossed in. One part of this match, Dustin hit a run off the second because, Dustin always gets in something new and impressive every match. So he hit that, and then he did a code red. And Excalibur called it something different, some kind of Japanese name it sounded like.
Right.
And maybe I had just been agitated at small details throughout the night, but that's something that's kind of been irking me a little bit with Excalibur. Like I've been in wrestling a long time, and he's like calling all moves like these odd things that like a lot of them, I don't know them by. I'm not sure if the fans do. So from a fan standpoint, I don't know if they're appreciative of it. Like, oh, that's what it's called. Sometimes it kind of comes across to me as like he's the know-it-all guy. Like the one at the lunch table that would be like, well, actually, it wasn't their second album. It was track 4 on there. So that was just the impression I got.
He'd be like me with the South Park chick. Actually, bro, that's season 5, episode 2. It's called Super Best Friends.
Probably, yeah. So the spot with John Silver running in was weird and it was kind of clunky. What we were supposed to see was him jumping off the top, and Goldust catches him with an inverted atomic drop where he sells his nuts, and then Goldust was going to pow him. Well, I don't think that could have worked. So I'm not too sure if that was a rib from Dustin, because as short as Alex is, I don't like if Dustin's knee was up, I don't think there was a way that Silver, his legs are so short, I don't think there's a way he could have done it without hitting his nuts. And Dustin's like among the best of the best. So I don't think Dustin would not be aware of that. The taller member of that team sure could have taken it. So as you see, like the atomic drop didn't connect at all. I don't know if it was Silver trying to protect himself or if that was a rib set up on him backstage. They're hazing the young guy, but I just found that kind of funny. The big bit, we saw Dustin have a valiant effort, then he lost. Brodie's still champ. Cabana kind of gets punked a little bit, teasing that dissension. Evil Luno keeps trying to comfort him. So maybe we're going to get a babyface Cabana versus a heel Brodie. That would be cool to see. But the big story of the night is the breaking news. And after I saw this, I had a feeling the moment it happened what a lot of the reaction would be. So myself, much like the majority of the audience, when you heard Cody and breaking news, what did you expect to be the announcement?
Either one or two things. It would either be the Horseman or something along those lines, or he's going to fight his championship, something with wrestling related. Or the second one was maybe his new television show that he's doing with Stephen Amell Heels. That's what I was expecting.
So yeah, in the general sense, people were expecting wrestling news, like update. How's his health? What's he going to do next? Because I remember thinking, okay, they're going to have Cody go away for a while so you can miss him and then come back in grand fashion. I even laid an angle out several weeks ago about that. So I was like, oh, they're kind of rushing Cody back here. But instead what we got is Cody addressed the wrestling for a few seconds and said he was injured and he was walking around okay. The last visual we saw of him was, he was pretty much dead. And then he put over this variety show with the comedian Bert Kreischer as the host, and there was monster trucks and all this stuff. So it almost was a bait and switch in wrestling where you advertise something and don't give them that and you give them something else. So I knew there would be backlash from it. And shortly after Dynamite aired, I saw a social media post about it and I read some of the comments. And I'd say 60 to 75% of them were like, that was the announcement. Some of them were not put that eloquently. So I could tell a lot of people were disappointed. That's where you get into murky waters with TNT, because I think that was 100% a TNT call. They have the viewers already there and Cody's involved. So they wanted to do it. And WCW ran into similar issues when you work for the television company. So I think that was more TNT's choice than the boys, but I think a lot of fans were disappointed that that's what they got.
Just to jump in here really quick, Fudge 420 was asking, who's the host? It's Cody. It's not just Cody, though, Fudge. It's Cody. It's Snoop Dogg, Rosario Dawson. Bert Kreischer is the overall host. I'm sorry. So Cody's a judge.
Yes.
Rosario Dawson's a judge. Snoop Dogg's a judge. And there's two other people, I forget, I'm sorry, are judges as well. So it's a panel of 4 or 5 judges deciding on a weekly basis it's going to look like to ascend to eventually win $100,000. So it's TBS's version of America's Got Talent, but it's going to be a little bit more over the top. Like it's America's Got Talent with the Gong Show is what it looks like to me. Mm-hmm. So that'll be playing out, I guess, this fall. As you mentioned, it's good for TBS, good for TNT. It's good for, I'd even say the casual audience, maybe somebody who doesn't know who Cody is and they see him and they might tune in to go find out what AEW wrestling is on the same network. But that being said, you're right. It was bait and switch. You were expecting some sort of update for Cody, and we got him talking about a television show that was not AEW wrestling. Weird placement for that. That probably should have happened maybe halfway through the show instead of at the end of the show or something. They could have been, hey, at the end of during the 5 o'clock hour or the 8 o'clock hour, depending on where you're watching it. Hey, at the top of the hour, top of the second hour, we've got an announcement coming from Cody Rhodes. Don't forget to stick around. That could have been cool. And then maybe you even parlay that in, hey, if you watch the breaking news during the commercial, the hashtag's also going to be there too. So now you're getting making sure people are paying attention. So
what they could have done to make it all come together is it's all semantics. Instead of wording it the way they did, they should have said, and Nightmare Cody Rhodes has an exciting new project he's working on outside of OVW, outside of AEW. At the end of the night, we're going to unveil what Cody's new project is. So made it clear that it was not something related to AEW while still not giving away what the thing actually was. That way they could have made the Turner Brass happy and made their fans happy or at least not upset.
Yeah, no, that's great points. Well, that was AEW Dynamite, Chris Silvio. Overall, what did you think of the show tonight?
It was pretty good. It had its ups and downs. There were a lot of promos in it. The opening tag was very good. I appreciated the Dustin match and the effort they put in. A lot of promos, a few of the weird issues I had with it that I went over. I wouldn't say it was upper tier of the strongest Dynamite shows. I think the last 2 weeks, the shows have been kind of a little less than what we're used to. So I'm hoping that this competition now and I've been saying this for a while, I wonder what will happen if the competition goes away. Now with NXT being on Tuesday and them being unopposed, is that going to continue to challenge their creative envelope? Or the show's going to change. So I hope that's not happening, because we did get some really good stuff on this show. So hopefully next week there's trains moving even stronger, and we get an even bigger, better Dynamite.
All right, well, Sylvia, that's going to do it here for another edition
of AEW Like the Fuse, You're All Law. Radicalized MSG commands you go to twitch.tv/conspiracy horseman /Hamin Media Group. Subscribe, stupid morons. Go to YouTube, Hamin Media Group, subscribe there. Go to Bin Hamin's YouTube and subscribe there. hackerhamin.podbean.com. HaminMediaGroup.podbean.com. Go there, subscribe. Paid for nothing. It's free. What are you waiting for? Go there, subscribe now. I am your host with the most, who lives somewhere. I can't tell you. Bin Hamin has relocated me. But it will all be revealed here shortly. Silvio! Where can these stupid infidel moron marks go to support you, buy things from you, pay you, because you deserve it?
Yes, I do. I'm that guy that lives in Florida, in Tampa Bay. I'm on social media at the Chris Silvio on all of your social medias. Chris Silvio's Superstar Seminars on Facebook is my web page. Come get some training at the Side Dojo, and stay tuned for upcoming projects and things like that. Another week of action. Next week we'll be back with Hamin. Cool shit going on. Check out all the Hamin Media Group shows, because we got a lot more action for you.
That's it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's another edition of Light the Fuse. Our fearless Bin Hamin Ayola is on the lam, changing the world one mark at a time. And it starts right here with the radicalization of all of the stupid infidel moron mark producers. He took out Athers. He got to Ted. He got me. Why Song? Smack Attack? MacGyver? You're all next. Y'all are. Goodbye, stupid morons.